Welcome, fellow Wasteland wanderer, to a journey through one of the Wasteland's most enduring institutions. Tonight, we're going to explore the complete saga of the Brotherhood of Steel, from its humble beginnings in the final days before the Great War, to its evolution into a force that shapes the destiny of post-apocalyptic America. So settle in, make yourself comfortable, and let your mind drift as we traverse the centuries together. Close your eyes when you're ready, and let's begin our chronicle at the very beginning, in those final, fateful days before the world was consumed by atomic fire. Our story begins in the autumn of 2077, in a world teetering on the precipice of annihilation. The morning of October 23rd dawns clear and crisp at Mariposa military base in California, where Captain Roger Maxon serves as part of the security detail for one of America's most classified research facilities. The base, nestled in the California mountains, appears unremarkable from the outside, just another military installation in a nation bristling with defensive fortifications. But Mariposa harbors dark secrets beneath its mundane exterior. Deep in its underground laboratories, scientists in white coats conduct experiments that push the boundaries of human biology and military ethics. The forced evolutionary virus, or FEV as it's known to those with clearance to speak of it, represents the pinnacle of America's biological weapons program, theoretically designed to create super soldiers capable of surviving in irradiated environments. The virus has become something far more sinister in practice. Captain Maxon is a career military man, the latest in a long line of soldiers who have served their country with distinction. His great-great-grandfather fought in the Second World War. His ancestors stood at Gettysburg and Valley Forge. Service runs in his blood like the oil in a well-maintained rifle. He believes in the chain of command, in the righteousness of American democracy, and in the duty of soldiers to protect their nation from all threats, foreign and domestic. The security routines at Mariposa have become second nature to Maxon and his men. Morning perimeter checks, afternoon training drills, evening equipment maintenance, a cycle as predictable as the sunrise. The scientists come and go at their appointed times, their faces hidden behind radiation masks, their work hidden behind classifications so secret that even Maxon doesn't have full access to their research. But October at Mariposa brings changes that disturb the comfortable routine. New test subjects arrive under heavy guard, not volunteers or prisoners as the men had assumed, but American military personnel. Soldiers who had been listed as killed in action or missing in the Sino-American War are unloaded from unmarked trucks, very much alive but destined for something worse than death in the laboratories below. The unraveling begins with a simple act of human curiosity. Sergeant Plattner, one of Maxon's most trusted men, notices discrepancies in the disposal records. The amount of medical waste being incinerated doesn't match the number of test animals supposedly being used in the experiments. Either the scientists are being incredibly wasteful with their resources, or they're disposing of something or someone else entirely. Maxon's initial response is to go through proper channels. He files a report with his superior, Colonel Spindle, expecting a reasonable explanation or perhaps a mild reprimand for overstepping his boundaries. Instead, Spindle's reaction is immediate and alarming. The colonel becomes agitated, insisting that Maxon and his men focus on their duties and stop asking questions about matters beyond their clearance level. But once suspicion takes root, it grows like a weed in fertile soil. The security team begins to notice things they had previously overlooked. The screams echoing from the underground levels, dismissed as equipment noise or animal testing, take on a distinctly human quality. The scientists' behavior becomes increasingly erratic, their conversations stopping abruptly whenever military personnel approach. The truth, when it finally emerges, is more horrifying than anything Maxon could have imagined. Through a combination of careful observation, intercepted communications, and the conscience-driven confession of a junior researcher, the security team discovers the full scope of the FEV experiments. American soldiers, prisoners of war, and even civilians deemed expendable by shadowy government agencies are being subjected to forced mutations in the name of creating the perfect warrior. The test subjects endure agony beyond description as the virus rewrites their genetic code. Those who survive the initial transformation become something no longer recognizably human. Massive, green-skinned monstrosities with enhanced strength but diminished mental capacity. The failures, which far outnumber the successes, die in ways that haunt the nightmares of even hardened soldiers. Maxon finds himself at a moral crossroads that no amount of military training has prepared him for. Everything he has believed about his country, his duty, and the rightness of following orders crumbles in the face of such systematic horror. The government he has sworn to serve has become the very evil he pledged to defend against. The decision to rebel doesn't come easily or quickly. Maxon spends sleepless nights wrestling with his conscience, weighing his oath of service against the undeniable evidence of crimes against humanity. He consults with his senior staff, finding that many of them share his revulsion and moral outrage. The question becomes not whether to act, but how to proceed in a way that honors their principles while ensuring the survival of those under their command. On October 20th, 2077, just 3 days before the bombs will fall, Captain Maxon makes the most difficult decision of his military career. He orders the arrest of all scientific personnel at Mariposa, confining them to quarters pending a full investigation. When Colonel Spindell attempts to countermand these orders, Maxon places him under arrest as well, effectively declaring the base to be in rebellion against the United States government. The interrogations that follow reveal the full depth of the conspiracy. The FEV project has connections reaching to the highest levels of government and military command. Corporate interests, particularly the shadowy organization known as the Enclave, have been driving the research with complete disregard for human life or military ethics. The scientists, some genuinely believing they were serving their country and others simply following orders for generous paychecks, provide detailed accounts of experiments that violate every principle of human decency. Maxon's next actions demonstrate both his military pragmatism and his commitment to justice. He conducts formal military tribunals for the scientific staff, following proper procedures even in the midst of rebellion. The evidence is overwhelming, the guilt undeniable. On October 23rd, as nuclear sirens begin to wail across America, the scientists of Mariposa face military justice. Their executions are carried out with military precision, a final act of order before the world descends into chaos. The timing of Maxon's rebellion proves to be both tragically late and fortunately early. Late because the experiments have already claimed countless victims whose suffering cannot be undone. Early because it positions Maxon and his men to survive the nuclear holocaust that is about to consume the world. As the bombs begin to fall, the soldiers of Mariposa are already in a fortified position, already organized under strong leadership, already mentally prepared for a world where the old order has collapsed. When the nuclear warnings sound across America on that fateful October morning, Maxon and his men are perhaps better prepared than most military installations. Their recent rebellion has put them on high alert, their defensive positions are already manned, and most importantly, they have no illusions about the government's willingness to sacrifice its own people for strategic advantage. The base's location in the California mountains provides natural protection from the direct effects of nuclear blasts, though the men can see the distant flashes of atomic fire consuming Los Angeles and San Francisco. The electromagnetic pulses knock out most electronic equipment, but Mariposa's hardened military systems continue to function. Radio communications bring fragmentary reports of destruction on an unimaginable scale before finally falling silent. In those first terrifying hours, Maxon's leadership proves invaluable. While the world above burns, he maintains military discipline and order among his men. Guard rotations continue, food supplies are inventoried and rationed, and defensive positions are reinforced against the unknown threats that the post-nuclear world might bring. The military structure that these men have lived by their entire careers becomes their lifeline in the face of ultimate catastrophe. The base's underground facilities, once chambers of horror, become shelters for survival. The laboratories are repurposed as living quarters, the containment cells converted to storage areas. Every resource is carefully catalogued and preserved. The soldiers understand that they may be alone for a very long time, that the chain of command they once served has likely been vaporized, along with Washington, DC. As days turn to weeks, the immediate danger of additional nuclear attacks fades, replaced by the grim reality of long-term survival. Radiation levels outside remain dangerously high, forcing the soldiers to remain in their underground shelter. Maxon establishes new routines, new purposes for his men. Military drills continue, but now they train for threats they can only imagine. Educational programs are established, ensuring that vital knowledge is shared among all personnel. The psychological challenges of isolation and uncertainty prove as dangerous as any external threat. Some men crack under the pressure, requiring restraint or sedation. Others throw themselves into work with manic intensity, desperate for any distraction from thoughts of families and homes that no longer exist. Maxon himself struggles with the weight of command, knowing that every decision he makes could mean life or death for the men who have followed him into rebellion and now into the unknown future. It is during these long months of isolation that the philosophical foundations of what will become the Brotherhood of Steel begin to take shape. Maxon, a student of military history, draws inspiration from various sources: medieval knightly orders, monastic communities, and military brotherhoods throughout history. He understands that his men need more than just military discipline to sustain them. They need purpose, meaning, and a vision for the future. The first principle that emerges is the preservation of technology and knowledge. Having witnessed firsthand how advanced science can be perverted for evil purposes, Maxon becomes convinced that technology must be controlled by those with the wisdom and discipline to use it responsibly. The dangerous knowledge that led to FEV and nuclear weapons cannot be allowed to fall into the wrong hands again. The second principle is the Brotherhood itself, the bonds between soldiers who have faced the apocalypse together and survived. Traditional family structures have been shattered, former national loyalties rendered meaningless. What remains is the connection between men who have chosen honor over orders, who have stood together against impossible odds. This brotherhood transcends the old distinctions of rank and origin, creating a new form of military family. The third principle involves the relationship between the Brotherhood and the outside world. As radiation levels slowly decrease and scouting parties begin to venture beyond the base, they discover a world transformed beyond recognition. Desperate survivors, mutated creatures, and the ruins of civilization present both opportunities to help and threats to defend against. Maxon establishes protocols for these interactions, emphasizing the Brotherhood's role as preservers and protectors rather than conquerors. The Codex begins to take shape during this period, though it won't be formally written down for several years. These are the rules and traditions that will govern the Brotherhood for centuries to come. Military ranks are retained but given new meaning. Knights who venture into the wasteland to secure technology. Scribes who preserve and study knowledge. Paladins who serve as the elite warriors and leaders. Each role is vital, each member valued for their contribution to the greater mission. Religious or quasi-religious elements also emerged during this time, not a worship of any traditional deity, but a reverence for the technology that represents both humanity's greatest achievements and its most dangerous temptations. Ceremonies develop around the maintenance and use of advanced equipment. Oaths are sworn not to flags or nations, but to the Brotherhood itself and its mission of preservation. After nearly 2 years of isolation at Mariposa, the Brotherhood makes one of its most crucial decisions. The base, while secure, is tainted by the horrors that occurred there. More practically, its location and limited resources make it unsuitable for long-term habitation. Maxon, now universally recognized as Elder despite his attempts to maintain traditional military structure, orders preparations for relocation. The destination is Lost Hills, a government bunker complex that pre-war intelligence indicated might have survived the nuclear exchange. The journey from Mariposa to Lost Hills becomes the Brotherhood's first great trial, their exodus through the radioactive wasteland that California has become. It's a march that will be remembered in Brotherhood history with the same reverence that ancient peoples remembered their founding migrations. Preparation for the journey takes months. Every piece of equipment must be evaluated for portability and necessity. The vast stores of weapons and technology at Mariposa must be sorted, with painful decisions made about what to take and what to leave behind. Most challenging of all, the brothers must prepare themselves physically and mentally for extended exposure to the hostile post-war environment. The march itself takes place in the winter of 2079, chosen because the cooler temperatures will make the heavy radiation suits more bearable and because winter rains might have washed away some of the radioactive fallout. The Brotherhood moves in a carefully planned formation, with scouts ranging ahead to identify threats and safe paths, the main body protecting the essential equipment and supplies, and a rear guard ensuring nothing valuable is left behind. The journey becomes a crucible that forges the Brotherhood's identity. Every day brings new challenges, radstorms that force them to seek shelter, mutated creatures that attack without warning, and the constant struggle against radiation exposure. The pre-war military structure proves its worth, allowing the Brotherhood to maintain cohesion and purpose even under extreme stress. Along the way, they encounter other survivors, desperate families, savage raiders, and small communities trying to scratch out an existence in the ruins. These encounters force the Brotherhood to define its relationship with the outside world in practical terms. They help when they can, sharing medical supplies and defending the innocent from predators, but they also maintain their distance, understanding that their mission requires them to remain apart from the general population. The arrival at Lost Hills marks the true beginning of the Brotherhood of Steel as an enduring institution. The bunker complex, built into a series of natural caverns and reinforced with pre-war military construction, proves to be everything Maxon hoped for. Its automated defense systems still function, its water purification equipment continues to process groundwater, and its vast storage areas contain supplies that will sustain the Brotherhood for decades. The process of making Lost Hills truly habitable takes years of constant work. The brothers must clear radioactive debris, repair damaged systems, and adapt the facility to serve not just as a military bunker, but as a permanent home for their growing community. Every member contributes according to their skills. Former engineers work on the mechanical systems, medical personnel establish health protocols, and soldiers maintain security against the ever-present threats of the Wasteland. One of the most significant developments during this period is the establishment of the Brotherhood's workshops and laboratories. Unlike the horrific experimentation at Mariposa, these facilities are dedicated to understanding and preserving technology rather than perverting it. Scribes begin the monumental task of cataloging and studying the pre-war equipment, creating manuals and training programs to ensure knowledge is not lost if key personnel die. The social structure of the Brotherhood continues to evolve during these early years at Lost Hills. The strictly military hierarchy of Mariposa gives way to a more complex system that acknowledges different types of expertise and contribution. Master scribes earn respect equal to that of veteran knights, and the Council of Elders emerges as a governing body that balances military necessity with long-term planning. Children begin to be born in Lost Hills, the first generation of the Brotherhood who will know no other life. Their education becomes a primary concern, leading to the establishment of formal training programs that combine military discipline with technical education. These children, raised from birth with the Brotherhood's values and knowledge, will become the future of the organization. The defenses of Lost Hills are constantly improved and refined. The natural terrain provides excellent protection, but the Brotherhood enhances it with sophisticated sensor systems, hidden weapons emplacements, and carefully planned kill zones. They understand that their technology makes them a target for any group desperate enough to attempt an assault, and they prepare accordingly. As the Brotherhood settles into its new home, Elder Maxon recognizes the need for formal documentation of the principles and structures that have emerged organically during their trials. The Codex begins as a simple set of written rules, but evolves into a comprehensive guide for Brotherhood life, covering everything from military tactics to philosophical principles. The writing of the Codex is not the work of a single person or even a small group. Maxon encourages input from all members, understanding that the document must reflect the collective wisdom of their shared experiences. Debates rage for months over specific provisions: how much technology should be shared with outsiders, what criteria determine advancement in rank, how to balance military necessity with humanitarian concerns. The rank structure that emerges in the Codex reflects the Brotherhood's unique nature as both a military organization and a technological preservation society. Initiates begin their journey with basic training that encompasses combat skills, technical knowledge, and Brotherhood philosophy. Those who show aptitude for combat become knights, training in the use and maintenance of advanced weapons, and eventually the iconic power armor that will become the Brotherhood's signature. Those with more scholarly inclinations become scribes, dedicating themselves to the preservation and understanding of pre-war knowledge. The scribes are further divided into orders. Some focus on weapons technology, others on medical knowledge, still others on the vast archives of general human knowledge that the Brotherhood has accumulated. Master scribes earn their title through decades of study and significant contributions to the Brotherhood's understanding. Paladins represent the elite of the Brotherhood's military forces, combining the combat prowess of knights with leadership abilities and tactical acumen. They serve as field commanders, leading squads of knights on dangerous missions into the Wasteland. The most senior paladins may be appointed as sentinels, special operatives who undertake the most critical and dangerous missions for the Brotherhood. The position of Elder, once held solely by Maxon, evolves into a council-based system. Elders are chosen from the ranks of senior paladins and master scribes, selected for their wisdom, experience, and dedication to Brotherhood principles. The High Elder serves as first among equals, providing decisive leadership when the council cannot reach consensus. As the Brotherhood establishes itself at Lost Hills, they begin to encounter the various dangers that have emerged in the post-war world. These early confrontations shape both their tactical doctrines and their understanding of what the Wasteland has become. Each new threat requires adaptation and innovation, pushing the Brotherhood to develop new strategies and technologies. The first major threat comes from what the Brotherhood terms raiders, desperate survivors who have abandoned any pretense of civilization in favor of violence and predation. These groups, often led by charismatic psychopaths or cunning opportunists, prey on weaker communities and travelers. The Brotherhood's superior training and equipment make them more than a match for most raider groups, but the sheer number and persistence of these enemies forces them to develop efficient patrol and response protocols. More challenging are the mutated creatures that have emerged from the radioactive transformation of the ecosystem. Giant rad scorpions mutated from common scorpions prove capable of penetrating standard combat armor with their massive stingers. Death claws, whose origins remain mysterious but whose lethality is undeniable, require entire squads of knights to bring down safely. Each new species encountered is carefully documented, its weaknesses analyzed and countermeasures developed. The discovery of ghouls, humans transformed by radiation into long-lived but physically degraded beings, presents both tactical and philosophical challenges. Some ghouls retain their intelligence and humanity, seeking only to survive in a world that fears and rejects them. Others have degenerated into feral creatures that attack anything they encounter. The Brotherhood must develop protocols for distinguishing between the two, and policies for dealing with each. Perhaps most disturbing are the first encounters with super mutants, the products of FEV experimentation that have somehow survived and multiplied in the Wasteland. These creatures possess strength and durability that makes them formidable opponents even for power-armored knights. More troubling is the evidence that some super mutants retain intelligence and organization, suggesting a level of threat beyond simple mutated animals. Each encounter provides valuable intelligence and hard-won experience. The Brotherhood's combat doctrines evolved from pre-war military tactics to something uniquely suited to the Wasteland environment. Emphasis shifts from large unit operations to small team tactics, from conventional warfare to a mixture of guerrilla operations and technological superiority. As the years pass and the original members of the Brotherhood age, questions of succession and continuity become paramount. Roger Maxon, the first High Elder, understands that the Brotherhood's survival depends on successful leadership transitions and the establishment of traditions that will outlast any individual. Maxon's philosophy, shaped by his experiences at Mariposa and the early years of survival, emphasizes the dangerous nature of unchecked technology and the responsibility of those who possess knowledge to use it wisely. He sees the Brotherhood as guardians standing between humanity and its own self-destructive tendencies. His writings, preserved in the Codex, speak of technology as a tool that amplifies human nature, both its virtues and its vices. When Maxon finally passes in 2092, leadership transitions to his son, Maxon II, who has been groomed for command since childhood. The younger Maxon brings his own perspectives to the role, having grown up entirely in the post-war world. Where his father saw technology through the lens of its pre-war abuses, Maxon II sees it as essential for humanity's recovery and advancement. Under Maxon II, the Brotherhood begins more aggressive programs of technology recovery. Expeditions range farther from Lost Hills, establishing supply caches and temporary outposts throughout California. The Brotherhood's maps of pre-war facilities and their assessments of recoverable technology become increasingly sophisticated. Trade relationships with certain stable communities are established, exchanging protection and basic technical knowledge for food and raw materials. Other early elders contribute their own perspectives to Brotherhood doctrine. Elder Gaddard, a former military engineer, emphasizes the importance of maintaining and improving the Brotherhood's equipment rather than simply hoarding pre-war artifacts. His programs for training apprentice engineers ensure that the Brotherhood can manufacture ammunition, maintain power armor, and even produce simple energy weapons. Elder Patricia Vanson, one of the few women to achieve elder status in the early Brotherhood, advocates for a more inclusive approach to recruitment. She argues that the Brotherhood's future depends on bringing in new blood from the Wasteland, not just relying on those born into the organization. Her policies lead to the establishment of formal recruitment and training programs for Wastelanders who demonstrate the necessary qualities. The heart of the Brotherhood's mission lies in the recovery and preservation of pre-war technology. These operations, ranging from simple salvage runs to complex expeditions into heavily irradiated ruins, define much of the Brotherhood's activity and purpose. Each mission is carefully planned, with extensive preparation and intelligence gathering preceding any deployment. The Brotherhood develops a systematic approach to technology recovery. Scribes maintain detailed databases of pre-war facilities, cross-referencing military records, corporate documents, and intelligence reports to identify promising targets. Priority is given to military installations, research facilities, and industrial complexes that might contain advanced technology or critical knowledge. A typical recovery mission begins with scout teams who assess the target location for threats and recoverable materials. These scouts, often working alone or in pairs, must be exceptionally skilled in stealth, survival, and threat assessment. They map radiation levels, identify mutant populations, and locate potential treasure troves of technology. Once a site is deemed worthy of a full expedition, knights are deployed in force. A standard recovery team includes combat specialists to deal with threats, technical specialists to identify and secure valuable technology, and support personnel to handle logistics and medical needs. The Brotherhood's power armor proves invaluable in these operations, providing protection against radiation and the strength needed to transport heavy equipment. The actual recovery process is methodical and thorough. Every piece of technology is catalogued, assessed for functionality, and carefully packed for transport. Even broken equipment is valuable for spare parts or reverse engineering. Documents, data storage devices, and any form of recorded knowledge receive special priority. The Brotherhood understands that information is often more valuable than hardware. Some recovery missions become legendary within the Brotherhood. The expedition to the ruins of the West Tech research facility yields a treasure trove of power armor schematics and energy weapon prototypes. The clearing of Vault 12, despite the ghoul population, provides medical technology that significantly improves the Brotherhood's healthcare capabilities. Each success reinforces the importance of their mission and the value of their sacrifices. As the Brotherhood establishes itself as a permanent fixture in the post-war world, the question of recruitment becomes increasingly important. The original members are aging, and while their children provide some new blood, the organization needs fresh recruits to maintain its strength and genetic diversity. This necessity leads to the development of formal recruitment protocols that balance the Brotherhood's need for secrecy with its need for personnel. Recruitment primarily occurs through two channels. The first involves the children of existing members, who are raised from birth with Brotherhood values and training. These individuals have the advantage of complete familiarity with Brotherhood culture and unconditional loyalty. but they also lack the diverse perspectives and skills that outsiders might bring. The second channel involves carefully selected wastelanders who demonstrate exceptional qualities. Potential recruits might be identified during Brotherhood patrols or recovery missions. Individuals who show courage in defending their communities, technical aptitude in maintaining pre-war equipment, or simply the right combination of intelligence and character might be approached with an offer to join. The recruitment process is deliberately challenging, designed to test both the physical and mental capabilities of potential members. Initiates must demonstrate proficiency in combat, technology, and Brotherhood philosophy. The training period typically lasts 2 years, during which initiates are constantly evaluated for their suitability. Those who fail to meet standards are expelled, though the Brotherhood ensures they cannot reveal sensitive information about the organization. Physical training emphasizes the unique demands of wasteland combat. Initiates learn to fight in power armor, maintain energy weapons, and operate in irradiated environments. They practice small unit tactics, long-range marksmanship, and close-quarters combat. The training is intense and sometimes brutal, but it produces warriors capable of facing any threat the wasteland can offer. Technical education is equally important. All Brotherhood members, regardless of their eventual specialization, must understand basic principles of nuclear physics, electronics, and mechanical engineering. Scribes receive advanced education in their chosen fields, while knights focus on the practical application of technology in combat situations. The Brotherhood's libraries and workshops become classrooms where pre-war knowledge is passed to new generations. Ideological indoctrination forms the third pillar of Brotherhood training. Initiates study the Codex intensively, learning not just its rules but the philosophy behind them. They learn about the dangers of uncontrolled technology, the importance of the Brotherhood's mission, and their responsibility as guardians of human knowledge. This philosophical training is considered as important as any combat skill. By the early 22nd century, the Brotherhood of Steel has grown from a single installation to a regional power with influence extending throughout much of California. The decision to expand beyond Lost Hills represents a fundamental shift in Brotherhood strategy, driven by both opportunity and necessity. The wasteland is stabilizing, new communities are forming, and the threat of dangerous technology falling into the wrong hands grows with each passing year. The first major expeditions are primarily exploratory in nature. Small teams of experienced knights and scribes venture into uncharted territories, mapping the changed landscape and identifying both threats and opportunities. These early explorers face dangers that would have overwhelmed less prepared groups: radiation hot zones that can kill in minutes, mutant creatures of unprecedented size and ferocity, and hostile human groups that view any outsiders as threats or prey. One of the most significant early expeditions heads north into what was once Oregon. Led by Paladin Thomas Moreno, this group discovers that the nuclear devastation was less severe in the northern regions, but the resulting mutations have created entirely new ecosystems. Massive fungal growths cover entire forests, creating spore-illed environments that require special breathing equipment. New species of mutated wildlife have established complex predator-prey relationships that the Brotherhood carefully documents. Another expedition travels east into the ruins of Navala, where they make a discovery that will shape Brotherhood policy for decades to come. In a hidden military bunker, they find evidence of a pre-war conspiracy involving multiple defense contractors and government agencies. The documents reveal plans for weapon systems that make nuclear bombs seem primitive by comparison. Weapons that could potentially destroy entire continents or alter the fundamental nature of reality itself. This discovery reinforces the Brotherhood's conviction that technology must be controlled and regulated. If such weapons had been completed before the war, the human race might have faced complete extinction rather than merely nuclear devastation. The Brotherhood destroys the research materials after carefully documenting them, ensuring that such knowledge cannot be reconstructed by those who might misuse it. The expeditions also encounter other organized groups that have emerged in the post-war world. Some, like the Gunrunners, are simple merchant organizations that have learned to manufacture basic weapons and ammunition. Others, like the emerging New California Republic, represent attempts to rebuild pre-war governmental structures. The Brotherhood must develop diplomatic protocols for dealing with these groups, balancing their mission of technology control with the practical necessities of coexistence. The Brotherhood's first major military challenge comes from an unexpected source: organized groups of super mutants that have begun appearing throughout California. These creatures, products of the same FEV research that sparked the Brotherhood's founding rebellion, have not only survived, but thrived in the post-war environment. More disturbing still, they show signs of organization and purpose that suggest leadership and planning. Initial encounters with super mutant groups are sporadic and seemingly random. Brotherhood patrols report contact with small bands of the creatures, usually resulting in fierce firefights that test even power-armored knights. The super mutants' incredible strength and durability make them formidable opponents, capable of wielding heavy weapons with ease and surviving injuries that would kill normal humans instantly. As encounters become more frequent, the Brotherhood begins to notice patterns. The super mutants aren't simply wandering the wasteland, they're conducting organized raids on human settlements, capturing survivors rather than simply killing them. Equipment recovered from defeated super mutants shows sophistication beyond what random mutations could produce. Someone or something is organizing these creatures, giving them purpose and direction. The Brotherhood launches a major intelligence-gathering operation to understand the super mutant threat. Scouts track mutant movements, identifying patterns and possible base locations. Captured equipment is analyzed for clues about its origin and manufacture. Most importantly, the Brotherhood begins intercepting super mutant communications, discovering that they use a crude but effective system of coded messages. What emerges from this intelligence is deeply troubling. The super mutants are not random mutations, but the result of continued FEV experimentation by an unknown party. Someone has gained access to the virus and the knowledge needed to use it, creating an army of superhuman soldiers. The captured humans are being taken for transformation, suggesting an active program to increase super mutant numbers. The Brotherhood's response to the super mutant threat showcases their evolution as a military force. Traditional pre-war tactics prove insufficient against enemies who can shrug off conventional weapons fire and tear through defensive positions with their bare hands. New doctrines emphasize mobility, concentrated firepower, and the use of energy weapons that can overcome super mutant durability. As the Brotherhood's influence expands, the limitations of operating solely from Lost Hills become apparent. The vast distances of the post-war world, combined with the dangers of wasteland travel, make it impractical to launch every operation from their primary bunker. This reality leads to the establishment of the Brotherhood's first permanent outposts beyond Lost Hills. The selection of outpost locations involves careful strategic planning. Sites must be defensible, have access to clean water and other resources, and be positioned to support Brotherhood operations in specific regions. Pre-war military installations often provide ideal locations, offering existing fortifications and sometimes functional equipment that can be restored. The first major outpost is established in the ruins of a pre-war National Guard armory in what was once the city of Bakersfield. The location provides a southern base of operations, allowing the Brotherhood to monitor the trade routes developing between the emerging communities of Southern California. The armory's weapons manufacturing facilities, though damaged, can be partially restored to produce ammunition and basic equipment. Establishing an outpost requires significant resources and personnel. A typical founding expedition includes a core group of knights for security, scribes to assess and restore technology, and support personnel for construction and logistics. The initial phase focuses on securing the perimeter, clearing any hostile creatures or inhabitants, and establishing basic life support systems. Once secured, outposts serve multiple functions for the Brotherhood. They act as forward operating bases for recovery missions, allowing teams to penetrate deeper into dangerous territories. They provide safe havens for Brotherhood patrols and trading partners. Most importantly, they serve as early warning systems, monitoring their regions for emerging threats or valuable technology. The outpost system also creates new challenges for Brotherhood governance. Communication between Lost Hills and distant outposts relies on radio systems vulnerable to interference and interception. Outpost commanders must be given significant autonomy to respond to local conditions, but this freedom can lead to variations in how Brotherhood doctrine is interpreted and applied. Some outposts develop their own distinct characters, based on their locations and missions. The San Francisco outpost becomes a center for maritime operations, recovering technology from the partially sunken pre-war naval base. The Mojave outpost focuses on desert survival techniques and the unique challenges of operating in extreme heat with limited water resources. As the Brotherhood's presence becomes more visible throughout the Wasteland, they develop a complex reputation among the various communities and factions of post-war California. To some, they are saviors, power-armored angels who appear in times of crisis to defend the innocent from raiders and mutants. To others, they are technological tyrants who hoard knowledge that could help rebuild civilization. The Brotherhood's policy of technology control creates the most controversy. When they confiscate a water purification system from a community deemed unworthy of such advanced technology, they may doom dozens to death from radiation poisoning. When they destroy weapons that could help settlements defend themselves, they leave communities vulnerable to attack. These actions, justified by Brotherhood doctrine as preventing greater future harm, earn them fear and resentment. Yet the Brotherhood's positive contributions cannot be denied. Their patrols make many trade routes safe for travel, allowing commerce to flourish between settlements. Their medical knowledge, shared selectively with communities that meet their standards, saves countless lives. Their presence alone deters many raider groups from attacking settlements under Brotherhood protection. The Brotherhood develops a sophisticated understanding of their public image and its importance. They begin selective programs of aid to strategically important communities, providing basic technical assistance and medical care. These programs serve multiple purposes. They generate goodwill, provide intelligence about regional developments, and identify potential recruits. Stories of Brotherhood heroism spread throughout the Wasteland, often growing in the telling. The tale of Paladin Sarah Lyons defending a caravan from an entire raider clan becomes legend, even though the actual event involved only a dozen attackers. Knight Captain Gallo's last stand against a Deathclaw pack, buying time for refugees to escape, inspires songs and stories told around Wasteland campfires. But darker stories spread as well. Communities whisper about the Brotherhood's recruitment practices, claiming they kidnap promising children to indoctrinate into their ranks. tales circulate of Brotherhood squads executing entire settlements to prevent the spread of dangerous technology. Some stories are exaggerations of actual events, others complete fabrications, but all contribute to the Brotherhood's mystique. The Brotherhood's expansion brings them into inevitable conflict with the various hostile groups that plague the Wasteland. These early battles test their training, equipment, and resolve, while shaping the combat doctrines that will guide the organization for generations. Each enemy presents unique challenges that force the Brotherhood to adapt and evolve their tactics. Raider groups, despite their generally inferior equipment and training, prove dangerous through sheer numbers and unpredictability. The Vipers, one of the more organized raider clans, employ chemical weapons and psychological warfare that catch Brotherhood patrols off guard. Their use of pre-war nerve agents forces the Brotherhood to develop better chemical protection for their power armor and detection equipment for their scouts. The Jackals, another major raider group, specialize in ambush tactics and trap-laying that claim several Brotherhood lives before effective countermeasures are developed. These losses lead to important changes in patrol procedures and the development of specialized training for operating in areas where ambush is likely. The Brotherhood learns that technological superiority alone isn't enough. They must also master the brutal cunning of wasteland warfare. More challenging are the organized Super Mutant forces that begin appearing with increasing frequency. Unlike raiders who typically flee when faced with serious opposition, Super Mutants actively seek combat with Brotherhood forces. Their durability allows them to employ tactics that would be suicidal for normal humans, such as frontal assaults under heavy fire, or using their own bodies as living shields for more valuable units. One of the most significant early battles occurs at the town of Necropolis, where a major super mutant force attempts to capture the ghoul population for unknown purposes. The Brotherhood intervenes, leading to a 3-day battle that sees some of the heaviest fighting since the organization's founding. The victory is costly but decisive, establishing the Brotherhood as the dominant military force in the region. These conflicts teach valuable lessons about resource management and logistics. The Brotherhood's advanced weapons consume ammunition at prodigious rates, and their power armor requires constant maintenance and periodic replacement of components. Establishing supply lines and maintenance facilities becomes as important as combat training, leading to the development of the Brotherhood's sophisticated quartermaster system. The psychological toll of constant warfare also becomes apparent. Knights who spend months in the field fighting for their lives against inhuman enemies often struggle to readjust to the relative peace of Brotherhood bunkers. Programs for combat stress management are developed, including rotation schedules that ensure no one spends too long in active combat zones. No single piece of technology defines the Brotherhood of Steel more than power armor. These mechanical suits, originally developed for pre-war military use, become both the symbol of Brotherhood might and the key to their military dominance. The organization's expertise in maintaining, modifying, and employing power armor develops into an art form that no other Wasteland faction can match. The Brotherhood's relationship with power armor begins at Mariposa, where they inherit stocks of T-51B suits used by base security. These represent the pinnacle of pre-war power armor technology, offering unprecedented protection and strength enhancement. But maintaining these complex machines in a post-war environment without access to military supply chains presents enormous challenges. Early efforts focus simply on keeping existing suits operational. Scribes spend countless hours studying technical manuals, reverse engineering damaged components, and developing workarounds for systems that can no longer be properly repaired. Every suit is precious, and losing one to irreparable damage is considered a major setback for the Brotherhood. As their understanding grows, the Brotherhood begins making modifications to improve performance and address post-war realities. Additional radiation shielding is added to protect against the ever-present environmental hazards. Cooling systems are upgraded to handle extended operations in desert environments. Communications equipment is integrated to allow better coordination between power-armored units. The training required to effectively use power armor evolves into a complex program that combines physical conditioning, technical knowledge, and tactical expertise. Initiates spend months learning to move naturally in the heavy suits, to manage power consumption during extended operations, and to maintain their equipment in field conditions. Only those who master all aspects of power armor operation are permitted to wear the suits in actual combat. The Brotherhood also develops specialized variants for different roles. Scout suits sacrifice some protection for enhanced mobility and sensor systems. Heavy assault variants mount additional armor and weapon hardpoints at the cost of speed and agility. Technical variants include built-in tools and diagnostic equipment for scribes working in hazardous environments. Perhaps most importantly, the Brotherhood develops the institutional knowledge needed to train new generations of power armor users. They create standardized maintenance procedures, tactical doctrines specific to power-armored combat, and even ceremonial traditions surrounding the awarding of armor to proven knights. Power armor becomes not just equipment, but a symbol of achievement and belonging within the Brotherhood. As the Brotherhood grows in size and complexity, the need for specialized roles becomes increasingly apparent. The simple division between soldiers and support personnel that sufficed in the early days gives way to a sophisticated system of orders, each with its own responsibilities, traditions, and internal hierarchies. This specialization allows the Brotherhood to operate more efficiently while providing clear career paths for members with different aptitudes. The Order of the Sword encompasses the Brotherhood's combat forces, from basic knights to elite paladins. These are the warriors who venture into the Wasteland, facing danger to secure technology and defend Brotherhood interests. Within the Order of the Sword, further specializations develop. Heavy weapons specialists, scouts, power armor operators, and field commanders. Each specialization requires specific training and offers its own advancement opportunities. Knights form the backbone of the Order of the Sword. After completing their initiate training, those selected for combat roles undergo additional preparation in weapons handling, tactical operations, and the specific challenges of wasteland warfare. They learn to operate as part of coordinated units, understanding that Brotherhood doctrine emphasizes teamwork and mutual support over individual heroics. Paladins represent the elite of the Brotherhood's military forces. Promotion to Paladin requires not just combat prowess, but leadership ability and deep understanding of Brotherhood doctrine. Paladins often command squads of knights in the field, making tactical decisions that can mean life or death for their subordinates. The most experienced paladins may be elevated to star paladinal ranks, taking on strategic planning roles. The Order of the Shield focuses on defensive operations and base security. While less glamorous than their sword counterparts, Shield personnel are vital to Brotherhood operations. They maintain perimeter defenses, operate security systems, and ensure that Brotherhood installations remain secure against all threats. Shield specialists become experts in fortification, electronic security, and threat assessment. The Order of the Quill encompasses the Brotherhood's scholars and technical specialists. Scribes within this order preserve knowledge, maintain equipment, and conduct research into recovered technology. The order is further divided into specialized fields. Senior scribes focus on specific areas like weapons technology, medical knowledge, or computer systems, while proctors oversee entire departments of research and education. Each order develops its own culture and traditions. The sword values courage and combat prowess, celebrating victories and mourning fallen comrades with military ceremonies. The shield emphasizes vigilance and reliability, taking pride in years of service without security breaches. The quill prizes knowledge and discovery, competing to make breakthroughs in understanding pre-war technology. The year 2161 marks a turning point in Brotherhood history, as scattered intelligence reports begin to paint a picture of a new and unprecedented threat emerging from the south. For months, Brotherhood patrols have noted increasing super mutant activity, but the true scope of the danger only becomes clear when several disturbing pieces of evidence converge into a terrifying whole. The first concrete evidence comes from a night sergeant named Marcus Trelane, who barely survives an encounter with an unusually organized super mutant patrol near the ruins of Los Angeles. Unlike the scattered groups the Brotherhood has faced before, these mutants operate with military precision, using advanced tactics and maintaining strict discipline. More disturbing still, they seem to be searching for something specific, or someone. Interrogation of captured raiders reveals fragmented stories about a figure called the Master who commands absolute loyalty from an army of super mutants. The raiders speak of entire settlements disappearing overnight, their populations taken for some unknown purpose. Those few who claim to have escaped describe underground facilities where humans are transformed into monsters through some form of scientific process. The Brotherhood's intelligence network, carefully cultivated over decades of expansion, begins reporting similar stories from across Southern California. Caravans fail to arrive at their destinations. Scout teams discover settlements that show no signs of battle but are completely empty of inhabitants. Most ominously, several fringe communities that had been considering Brotherhood alliance suddenly cut off all communication. Elder Jacob Manderley convenes an emergency council to assess the threat. The evidence, when compiled and analyzed, points to something far more dangerous than random super mutant activity. Someone has not only rediscovered FEV technology, but has improved upon it, creating a process for mass-producing super mutants. Worse still, this individual or organization has a plan that requires large numbers of human subjects. The Brotherhood faces a crucial decision. Their traditional approach of cautious expansion and defensive positioning seems inadequate against a threat that grows stronger with each captured settlement. Some elders advocate for immediate military action, striking before the enemy can grow stronger. Others counsel patience and intelligence gathering, arguing that they need more information before committing to what could be a catastrophic conflict. The decision is made to launch the most extensive intelligence operation in Brotherhood history. Multiple teams of scouts, spies, and technical specialists are deployed throughout Southern California, with orders to gather information about this master and his operations. The risks are enormous. Capture likely means transformation into the very creatures they're investigating. But the need for intelligence overrides safety concerns. Operation Silent Eye, as the intelligence gathering effort is designated, employs every resource at the Brotherhood's disposal. Technical specialists work to intercept and decode enemy communications. Scout teams map super mutant patrol routes and identify possible base locations. Perhaps most dangerously, several volunteers undergo cosmetic surgery and radiation treatment to pose as wastelanders, allowing them to infiltrate communities where the Master's agents might be recruiting. The intelligence that flows back to Lost Hills is both fascinating and horrifying. The Master, they learn, is actually a pre-war scientist named Richard Gray who discovered Fev supplies and used them on himself. The transformation turned him into something barely recognizable as human, a biomass of flesh and neural tissue interfaced with computer systems, possessing intelligence far beyond normal human capacity. More disturbing are the Master's goals. He genuinely believes he's saving humanity by transforming them into super mutants. In his twisted logic, the FEV virus represents the next stage of human evolution, creating beings immune to radiation and disease while possessing greatly enhanced physical capabilities. The fact that most humans die during transformation and survivors are sterile is seen as a temporary problem to be solved through further experimentation. The Master has established a network of agents throughout the Wasteland, including a religious organization called the Children of the Cathedral. These cultists preach peace and unity, while secretly identifying prime candidates for transformation. Their hospitals and relief centers, which provide genuine aid to Wasteland communities, serve as collection points for future super mutant conversion. The intelligence operation also reveals the location of the Master's primary base, a demonstration vault beneath the cathedral in the ruins of Los Angeles. Secondary facilities are scattered throughout the region, including the military base at Mariposa, where the Brotherhood's own story began. The irony is not lost on the elders that their founding location has become a center for the very experimentation they rebelled against. With intelligence in hand, the Brotherhood begins preparing for what many believe will be their greatest challenge since the exodus from Mariposa. The war against the Master's army requires mobilization on a scale the Brotherhood has never attempted, calling in forces from every outpost and activating reserve units that have never seen actual combat. The war begins not with a massive assault, but with a series of calculated strikes against isolated super mutant positions. The Brotherhood's strategy emphasizes their advantages in training and equipment, while avoiding the kind of massed battles where super mutant durability could prove decisive. Hit-and-run attacks on supply convoys, precision strikes against communication nodes, and careful assassination of super mutant leaders slowly degrade the enemy's capabilities. His eyes flicker outwards towards the cavil of police soldiers brightening in the distance, both their laughter and their vexation radiant. The super mutants respond with characteristic brutality but surprising adaptability. They begin operating in larger groups to prevent isolation and destruction. They develop countermeasures to Brotherhood tactics, using human slaves as shields and employing captured technology with increasing sophistication. Most concerning, they accelerate their transformation programs, attempting to overwhelm the Brotherhood through sheer numbers. The conflict spreads across Southern California as both sides seek advantages. The Brotherhood works to protect human settlements from super mutant raids, understanding that every captured human potentially becomes an enemy soldier. They establish defensive networks around major communities, train militia forces in basic combat techniques, and share limited technology to improve settlement defenses. Some of the war's fiercest battles occur at locations of strategic importance. The fight for the water treatment plant at Necropolis sees 3 days of continuous combat, with Brotherhood forces ultimately holding the facility against repeated super mutant assaults. The battle becomes legendary not just for its intensity, but for the cooperation between Brotherhood forces and the ghoul inhabitants of Necropolis, establishing precedents for future alliances. The ghouls evaporate a minor piece of equipment, forging a metal, establishing the latest treasons for future alliances. The Brotherhood also faces moral challenges during the war. They discover facilities where humans are held pending transformation, forcing difficult decisions about rescue attempts versus strategic objectives. Some captured humans have been partially transformed, existing in agonizing states between human and super mutant. The Brotherhood's medical corps struggles with the ethical implications of treating these victims, knowing that many will never recover their full humanity. Several key engagements define the course of the war and demonstrate the evolution of Brotherhood military doctrine. Each battle teaches lessons that are quickly incorporated into training and tactical planning, showing the organization's ability to adapt under pressure. The Battle of the Hub marks the first major Brotherhood victory against organized super mutant forces, when intelligence reveals a planned assault on this vital trading center. The Brotherhood prepositions forces and prepares elaborate defenses. The super mutants attack in waves, expecting to overwhelm the defenders through sheer force, but find themselves caught in carefully prepared kill zones. Energy weapons and concentrated fire from elevated positions devastate the attacking forces, while rapid reaction teams prevent any breakthroughs. The victory at the hub provides both tactical and strategic benefits. Tactically, it proves that super mutants can be defeated through proper preparation and superior firepower. Strategically, it demonstrates to Wasteland communities that the Brotherhood can protect major settlements, leading to increased cooperation and intelligence sharing from grateful civilians. Less successful is the first assault on the Mariposa military base, where overconfidence nearly leads to disaster. The Brotherhood assumes their knowledge of the facility will provide crucial advantages, but the Master's forces have extensively modified the base and prepared elaborate defenses. The assault force finds itself trapped in underground corridors, facing not just super mutants but automated defense systems and environmental hazard. The retreat from Mariposa, while costly in lives and equipment, provides valuable intelligence about enemy capabilities and tactics. The Brotherhood learns that the Master's forces are capable of sophisticated planning and engineering, not merely brute force. This knowledge leads to significant changes in assault doctrine and the development of specialized equipment for underground combat. The Siege of Vault 13 represents a different kind of battle, a race against time to prevent the Master from accessing a vault population for transformation. Brotherhood forces must reach and defend the vault before super mutant armies can breach its defenses. The resulting battle sees innovative tactics on both sides, with the Brotherhood using the vault's own systems as weapons, while super mutants attempt to break through using captured industrial equipment. Throughout these battles, individual acts of heroism become the stuff of Brotherhood legend. Knight Captain Morrison's single-handed defense of a medical convoy, holding off a super mutant squad until reinforcements arrive, exemplifies the courage expected of Brotherhood warriors. Scribe Sandra Chen's field modifications to energy weapons, increasing their effectiveness against super mutant physiology, demonstrates the vital role of technical specialists in combat operations. The war takes an unexpected turn with the arrival of an unlikely ally, a vault dweller from Vault 13, who has been traveling the Wasteland in search of a water chip for their dying community. This individual, whose actions will echo through history, brings unique perspectives and capabilities that prove crucial to defeating the Master. The Vault Dwellers' first contact with the Brotherhood occurs during their quest, when they arrive at Lost Hills, seeking technology to save their vault. Initial suspicions on both sides give way to mutual respect as the Brotherhood recognizes the Vault Dwellers' exceptional abilities and moral character. Unlike many Wastelanders, this individual combines Vault education with hard-won survival skills, creating a uniquely capable operative. Elder Maxon himself conducts the Vault Dwellers' evaluation, seeing in this outsider the potential to accomplish what Brotherhood forces cannot. The Vault Dweller can move freely through the Wasteland without attracting the attention that power-armored knights inevitably draw. They can infiltrate the children of the cathedral, gather intelligence from inside the Master's organization, and potentially reach the Master himself. The Brotherhood provides the Vault Dweller with equipment and intelligence, though some elders question the wisdom of trusting an outsider with advanced technology. The compromise reached allows the Vault Dweller access to Brotherhood resources while maintaining operational independence. This arrangement proves ideal, as the Vault Dweller's unconventional approach yields results that traditional military operations could not achieve. Through a combination of stealth, diplomacy, and when necessary, violence, the Vault Dweller penetrates deeper into the Master's organization than any Brotherhood operative has managed. They confirm intelligence about the Master's location and plans, while also discovering crucial weaknesses in his operations. Most importantly, they identify the psychological vulnerabilities that might be exploited to defeat the Master without requiring a massive military assault. The partnership between the Brotherhood and the Vault Dweller demonstrates the organization's ability to adapt and work with outside forces when circumstances demand it, while maintaining their core principles about technology control. They recognize that rigid adherence to doctrine must sometimes yield to practical necessity. The Master's defeat, achieved through the Vault Dweller's direct intervention rather than Brotherhood military might, sends shockwaves through both organizations. The explosion that destroys the demonstration vault and the Master himself can be seen for miles, a pillar of atomic fire that serves as a funeral pyre for the twisted dream of forced evolution. For the Brotherhood, victory brings both celebration and introspection. They have helped defeat a major threat to human survival, but the crucial blow was struck by an outsider. This reality forces examination of Brotherhood doctrine and methods. Some elders argue that the war validates their approach. Their intelligence and support made the Vault Dweller's success possible. Others see it as evidence that the Brotherhood has become too insular and rigid. The immediate aftermath requires extensive military operations to mop up remaining Super Mutant forces. Without the Master's coordination, many mutant groups become disorganized and purposeless. Some surrender to Brotherhood forces, providing valuable intelligence about remaining enemy positions. Others scatter into the Wasteland, becoming the wandering threats that will plague isolated communities for decades to come. More challenging is dealing with the Master's human collaborators and the victims of his experiments. The children of the cathedral dissolve overnight, their faith shattered by their god's destruction. Many cultists, realizing they were being used, provide information about hidden facilities and ongoing operations. The Brotherhood must decide how to handle these individuals. Are they traitors to humanity or victims of manipulation? The medical challenges are equally complex. Thousands of humans in various stages of FEV exposure require treatment. Brotherhood medical personnel work alongside Wasteland doctors to develop treatment protocols, though success rates remain discouragingly low. The experience significantly advances Brotherhood medical knowledge, particularly in treating radiation and mutation conditions. The war's end also brings political changes to the Wasteland. The Brotherhood's role in defeating the Master enhances their reputation, but also raises questions about their future intentions. Some communities that welcomed Brotherhood protection during the war now wonder if their saviors might become their rulers. The Brotherhood must carefully navigate these concerns while maintaining their mission of technology preservation. In the decades following the Master's defeat, the Wasteland undergoes a dramatic transformation that the Brotherhood watches with a mixture of hope and concern. From the humble farming community of Shady Sands, first aided by the Vault Dweller generations ago, rises a new political entity that challenges every assumption about post-war governance. the New California Republic. The NCR's growth from a single settlement to a multi-common confederation happens with surprising speed. Under the leadership of Aradesh and later his daughter Tanti, Shady Sands leverages its agricultural success and strategic location to build trading relationships with neighboring communities. What begins as simple mutual defense agreements evolves into increasingly formal political arrangements. The Brotherhood initially views these developments with cautious optimism. A stable, organized government could bring peace to the Wasteland and allow the Brotherhood to focus on their core mission of technology preservation. Early interactions between the Brotherhood and the nascent NCR are cordial, even cooperative. The organizations share intelligence about raider movements and occasionally coordinate operations against mutual threats. However, fundamental differences in philosophy become apparent as the NCR grows. Where the Brotherhood believes in controlling technology through a militant techno-religious order, the NCR advocates for democratic governance and widespread technology distribution. The NCR's constitution, modeled on pre-war American democracy, guarantees rights and freedoms that directly conflict with Brotherhood doctrine about limiting access to dangerous knowledge. President Tandy, whose longevity becomes legendary in the Wasteland, proves to be a particularly challenging figure for the Brotherhood to deal with. Having lived through the Master's War and witnessed both the benefits and dangers of technology, she develops nuanced positions that neither fully embrace nor reject Brotherhood philosophy. Her government seeks Brotherhood expertise while resisting their control, creating an awkward dance of cooperation and competition. The NCR's expansion brings them into contact with more pre-war facilities and technology caches, leading to inevitable conflicts with Brotherhood recovery teams. Both organizations claim authority, the NCR through territorial sovereignty and democratic mandate, the Brotherhood through their self-appointed role as technology guardians. These early disputes are resolved through negotiation, but they foreshadow greater conflicts to come. The formalization of diplomatic relations between the Brotherhood and the NCR represents a significant evolution for both organizations. For the Brotherhood, it marks the first time they have recognized another post-war government as a legitimate equal, worthy of formal diplomatic engagement. For the NCR, it provides validation of their growing status and access to technological expertise they desperately need. The first official embassy exchanges occur in 2189, with the Brotherhood establishing a permanent mission in the NCR capital, and the NCR reciprocating with a diplomatic presence at Lost Hills. These embassies serve multiple functions: official diplomatic channels, intelligence gathering posts, and cultural exchange centers that allow each organization to better understand the other. Ambassador Christine Kendall, the Brotherhood's first official representative to the NCR, faces unique challenges in her posting. Trained as both a scribe and a knight, she must balance the Brotherhood's secretive nature with the diplomatic necessity of building trust. Her reports back to Lost Hills paint a picture of a dynamic, growing nation that poses both opportunities and threats to Brotherhood interests. The early years of diplomatic engagement see several successful collaborative efforts. The Brotherhood provides technical assistance for NCR infrastructure projects, helping establish water purification systems and power generation facilities. In exchange, the NCR grants the Brotherhood access to certain pre-war sites within their territory and shares intelligence about technological discoveries. Joint military operations against raider clans and mutant threats demonstrate the potential for cooperation. The NCR's numbers combined with Brotherhood training and equipment proved devastatingly effective. The campaign against the Vipers Raider clan, which had plagued both organizations for years, results in the group's virtual elimination and strengthens voices in both camps advocating for closer cooperation. However, underlying tensions persist even during this honeymoon period. NCR citizens increasingly question why the Brotherhood maintains exclusive control over certain technologies. Brotherhood members worry about the NCR's rapid expansion and what it might mean for their ability to control dangerous knowledge. Cultural exchanges meant to build understanding sometimes have the opposite effect, highlighting fundamental incompatibilities between the two societies. The heart of the growing conflict between the Brotherhood and NCR lies in their fundamentally different approaches to technology. These philosophical differences, manageable when both organizations were smaller, become increasingly problematic as the NCR's growth brings them into contact with more advanced pre-war technology. The first major dispute arises over a discovered cache of energy weapons in what becomes NCR territory. The Brotherhood claims traditional salvage rights, arguing that such weapons are too dangerous for widespread distribution. The NCR counters that as the legitimate government of the territory, they have the right to arm their military forces as they see fit. The standoff nearly leads to violence before a compromise is reached. The weapons are placed under joint control, with Brotherhood advisors training NCR personnel in their use. This compromise satisfies neither party and establishes a problematic precedent. The Brotherhood sees it as a dangerous dilution of their mission, while the NCR views it as an infringement on their sovereignty. Each subsequent discovery leads to similar disputes, with compromises becoming increasingly difficult to achieve. The situation worsens when NCR-affiliated prospectors discover a pre-war robotics facility capable of producing military-grade combat automatons. The Brotherhood demands immediate access and control, citing the catastrophic potential of uncontrolled artificial intelligence. The NCR, seeing the facility's potential for national defense, refuses to grant Brotherhood authority over what they consider a strategic national resource. The resulting crisis nearly triggers open warfare. Brotherhood paladins establish a perimeter around the facility, while NCR military forces mobilize in response. For tense weeks, the two armies face each other across improvised fortifications, each waiting for the other to make the first aggressive move. Back-channel negotiations finally defuse the immediate crisis, but the underlying issues remain unresolved. These disputes reveal deeper problems in the Brotherhood's NCR relationship. The NCR's democratic government cannot simply defer to Brotherhood judgment without facing political consequences from citizens who expect their elected leaders to secure technological advantages. The Brotherhood cannot abandon their core mission without losing their identity and purpose. Neither organization can find a middle ground that satisfies their fundamental principles. The slide from diplomatic tensions to open warfare occurs through a series of escalations that, in retrospect, seem almost inevitable. By 2241, the NCR has grown into a major regional power with a professional military, while the Brotherhood has become increasingly isolated and defensive about their technological monopoly. The stage is set for a conflict that will reshape the balance of power in the Wasteland. The immediate cause of the war involves competing claims to several pre-war military installations in the Mojave Desert. Both organizations have established outposts in the region and both claim authority over salvage operations. When NCR forces occupy a Brotherhood-claimed facility, citing territorial sovereignty, Brotherhood paladins forcibly evict them. The resulting skirmish leaves dead on both sides, making diplomatic resolution nearly impossible. The NCR Congress votes for a military response, framing the conflict as a defense of national sovereignty against an undemocratic military organization. The Brotherhood Council of Elders, seeing the NCR's actions as a direct threat to their mission, authorizes defensive operations that quickly escalate into offensive strikes. Within weeks, the two most powerful organizations in the Wasteland are engaged in full-scale warfare. The early stages of the war seem to favor the Brotherhood. Their technological superiority allows them to win most direct engagements, with power-armored paladins proving nearly invulnerable to standard NCR infantry weapons. Brotherhood's surgical strikes disable key NCR infrastructure, while their superior intelligence capabilities allow them to anticipate and counter NCR military movements. However, the NCR's advantages in numbers and resources begin to tell as the war drags on. For every Brotherhood knight, the NCR can field a dozen soldiers. While individually less capable, NCR forces learn to use their numbers effectively, forcing the Brotherhood to fight multiple engagements simultaneously. The NCR's industrial base, crude but functional, can replace losses far more quickly than the Brotherhood's limited manufacturing capabilities. The war also reveals the Brotherhood's strategic vulnerabilities. Their bunkers and outposts, designed to withstand raider attacks and mutant assaults, prove vulnerable to siege warfare conducted by a professional military. The NCR's artillery, while primitive by pre-war standards, can eventually crack Brotherhood fortifications. More critically, the Brotherhood's limited recruiting pool means that every casualty is effectively irreplaceable. The Battle of Helios One becomes the defining engagement of the Brotherhood-NCR War, a clash that demonstrates both the strengths and ultimate limitations of the Brotherhood's military philosophy. The Helios One solar power facility represents exactly the kind of advanced technology the Brotherhood exists to control. A pre-war power plant capable of providing electricity to much of the Mojave, but also incorporating experimental weapons technology. The Brotherhood occupies Helios One early in the war, correctly identifying it as a strategic asset worth defending at all costs. They establish formidable defenses, turning the facility into a fortress bristling with energy weapons and protected by the finest knights and paladins the Western Brotherhood can muster. Elder Elijah himself takes personal command, viewing the facility as key to the Brotherhood's future. The NCR's assault on Helios One represents their military at its most effective. Recognizing that direct assault would be suicidal, NCR commanders employ combined arms tactics that maximize their advantages. Artillery pounds Brotherhood positions continuously, forcing defenders to remain under cover. Infantry advances under smokescreens, accepting casualties to identify weak points in the defense. The battle rages for days, with neither side able to gain a decisive advantage. Brotherhood defenders exact a terrible toll on NCR attackers, with kill ratios that would be unsustainable for any other conflict. But the NCR's reserves seem endless, fresh troops replacing exhausted units in a grinding battle of attrition that the Brotherhood cannot hope to win. The turning point comes when NCR sappers, guided by intelligence from Brotherhood defectors, manage to destroy key defensive positions. With their perimeter breached, Brotherhood forces face the choice of dying in place or conducting a fighting withdrawal. Elder Elijah, showing the inflexibility that will later lead to his downfall, initially orders a fight to the death, but subordinate commanders override him to save what remains of their force. The retreat from Helios One is masterfully executed, but psychologically devastating. The Brotherhood has never suffered such a clear defeat, never been forced to abandon such a significant position. Worse still, they must watch as the NCR occupies the facility, gaining access to technology that Brotherhood Doctrine says should never be widely distributed. The loss at Helios One marks the effective end of the Brotherhood-NCR War, though no formal peace treaty is ever signed. The Brotherhood, bloodied and demoralized, withdraws to their remaining strongholds, while the NCR consolidates control over the territories they've gained. What follows is not peace, but a cold war characterized by mutual suspicion and occasional violence. For the Brotherhood, the defeat triggers a period of introspection and internal conflict. Some members advocate for reform, arguing that the war has proven the impossibility of maintaining technological monopoly in an increasingly organized wasteland. These voices call for a new approach that would see the Brotherhood sharing knowledge more freely while maintaining their role as advisors and educators. Conservative elements within the Brotherhood draw opposite conclusions from the defeat. They argue that the war proves the dangers of engaging with outside powers, that the Brotherhood's mistake was not being isolationist enough. These hardliners push for complete withdrawal from Wasteland affairs, focusing solely on preserving what technology the Brotherhood still controls, while waiting for the NCR and other powers to inevitably destroy themselves. Elder Elijah's response to defeat becomes increasingly erratic. Obsessed with finding a technological solution to the Brotherhood's strategic disadvantages, he begins pursuing increasingly dangerous research projects. His fixation on Helios One and its secrets alienates him from other elders, leading to his eventual disappearance into the Wasteland in pursuit of weapons that could restore Brotherhood dominance. The practical consequences of isolation prove severe. Cut off from many of their traditional recruiting grounds, the Brotherhood faces demographic decline. Their bunkers, impressive as defensive positions, become prisons that separate them from the Wasteland's evolution. Technical knowledge, hoarded rather than applied, begins to stagnate without the challenges that come from practical application. Some Brotherhood members choose exile rather than isolation, joining NCR society or establishing independent settlements. These defections, while limited in number, represent a significant loss of expertise and further embitter those who remain. The Brotherhood that emerges from the war is smaller, more insular, and more convinced than ever that the outside world cannot be trusted with dangerous knowledge. The decades following the NCR War see the Brotherhood's influence in the Western Wasteland decline precipitously. Where once Brotherhood patrols were common sights on major trade routes, they now rarely venture far from their bunkers. Where settlements once looked to the Brotherhood for protection and technical assistance, they now turn to the NCR or develop their own capability. The NCR's victory has ramifications beyond simple territorial control. They've proven that the Brotherhood can be defeated, that technology and training cannot overcome determination and numbers. This lesson is not lost on other Wasteland factions, who become increasingly bold in challenging Brotherhood authority. Raiders who once fled at the sight of power armor now probe for weaknesses, while merchant companies hire their own technical specialists rather than relying on Brotherhood expertise. Perhaps more damaging than military defeat is the loss of moral authority. The Brotherhood's claim to be protecting humanity from dangerous technology rings hollow when the NCR successfully operates facilities like Helios One without triggering catastrophe. Their warnings about the dangers of unchecked technological proliferation seem less credible when NCR citizens enjoy electric lights and running water without apparent negative consequences. The Brotherhood's few remaining allies in the West gradually drift away. The Gunrunners, once reliable partners in weapons technology, develop increasingly sophisticated capabilities independent of Brotherhood assistance. The followers of the Apocalypse, who shared some philosophical common ground with the Brotherhood regarding the responsible use of knowledge, increasingly ally themselves with the NCR's more open approach to education and technology distribution. Within their bunkers, the Brotherhood maintains impressive capabilities. Their archives contain knowledge that exists nowhere else in the Wasteland. Their workshops can still produce and maintain technology that other factions can barely comprehend. Their warriors remain among the most formidable individual combatants in the post-war world. But these advantages mean little when the Brotherhood lacks the will or ability to project power beyond their walls. The Western Brotherhood's story becomes one of slow decline, punctuated by occasional moments of relevance. They emerge to deal with specific threats: a malfunctioning pre-war defense system, a cache of weapons too dangerous for any faction to control. But these interventions only highlight their general absence from Wasteland affairs. Each year their numbers dwindle, their influence fades, and their mission becomes more difficult to justify. The year 2254 marks a pivotal moment in Brotherhood history, when the Council of Elders makes a decision that will fundamentally alter the organization's future. Recognizing the Western Brotherhood's declining influence and isolation, they authorize an ambitious expedition to the eastern coast of the former United States. To lead this crucial mission, they appoint Elder Owen Lyons, a veteran paladin whose combination of military excellence and philosophical flexibility makes him ideal for such an unprecedented undertaking. Lyons represents a different generation of Brotherhood leadership. Unlike the hidebound traditionalists who dominate the Western councils, he has spent decades in the field, witnessing firsthand how the Brotherhood's isolation has diminished their effectiveness. His reports from various outposts consistently emphasize the need for adaptation and engagement with wasteland communities, views that make him controversial among conservative elders but perfect for a mission requiring diplomatic as well as military skills. The Eastern Expedition's stated goals are ambitious, yet vague, perhaps deliberately so. Officially, Lyons is tasked with investigating the fate of pre-war government and military installations along the eastern seaboard, establishing contact with any Brotherhood expeditions that might have traveled east in previous decades, and securing any technology that could benefit the Brotherhood's mission. Unofficially, many hope this expedition might find new purpose and direction for an organization struggling with relevance. Preparation for the expedition takes months. Lyons handpicks his team from volunteers across the Brotherhood, favoring those who share his more progressive views about engagement with outsiders. His selections include veterans of the NCR War who understand the cost of isolation, young knights eager for adventure and purpose, and scribes who see the expedition as an opportunity to discover new knowledge rather than simply preserve the old. The expedition's composition reflects Lyons' vision for a more balanced Brotherhood. While military forces remain the largest component, he includes unprecedented numbers of medical personnel, engineers, and educators. His daughter Sarah, already showing promise as a warrior and leader, joins the expedition as a knight captain, beginning her own legendary career in Brotherhood service. The farewell ceremony at Lost Hills carries undertones of permanence that everyone pretends not to notice. While officially a temporary expedition, most understand that Lyons and his followers are unlikely to return. Some Western elders privately hope the expedition will draw away Brotherhood members whose views challenge traditional doctrine, allowing those who remain to maintain their isolation in peace. The transcontinental journey that begins in 2254 becomes an odyssey worthy of ancient legends. Nearly 200 Brotherhood members, accompanied by dozens of support vehicles and pack animals, set out to cross a continent transformed by nuclear war. Their path will take them through irradiated deserts, mutant-infested ruins, and territories controlled by unknown factions, testing every aspect of Brotherhood training and philosophy. The early stages of the journey follow relatively familiar territory. The expedition moves through areas where the Brotherhood has maintained occasional contact, stopping at affiliated settlements and cached supply dumps. These waypoints, established over decades of Western operations, provide crucial resources and intelligence about the path ahead. But as they move beyond the Rockies, they enter truly unknown territory. The Great Plains present unexpected challenges. Pre-war agricultural centers have become vast radioactive dust bowls where storms can strip flesh from bone. Mutated plant life has created toxic forests that poison anyone who enters without protection. The expedition must constantly adapt, with scribes developing new radiation treatments and knights learning to fight enemies unlike anything in Brotherhood records. Human settlements along the route provide fascinating glimpses into how different regions have adapted to post-war conditions. Some communities have developed entirely new cultures, with languages and customs that have evolved independently over 2 centuries. Others cling to pre-war traditions with religious fervor, preserving fragments of the old world in ways both touching and disturbing. Lyon's approach to these encounters establishes patterns that will define his Eastern leadership. Rather than maintaining strict separation, he encourages limited cultural exchange. Brotherhood members provide medical assistance and basic technical education in exchange for supplies and information. These interactions prove mutually beneficial, earning the expedition goodwill that proves invaluable when crossing hostile territories. The journey takes nearly 3 years, far longer than initially planned. Equipment failures, hostile encounters, and the simple realities of moving such a large group across a dangerous continent create constant delays. Some members are lost to radiation, mutation, and combat. Others choose to remain in communities along the way, finding new purposes in helping struggling settlements. Each loss diminishes the expedition, but also strengthens the bonds among those who continue. The expedition's arrival in the ruins of Pittsburgh in 2255 provides their first major test of principles and purpose. The city, known locally as the Pit, has devolved into a hellish landscape of industrial slavery and savage tribalism. Toxic rivers, polluted air, and a unique plague that transforms humans into mindless trogs have created an environment that makes even hardened Wasteland veterans pause. The Brotherhood scouts initially recommend bypassing the city entirely, but reports of massive industrial facilities still producing steel and ammunition prove too tempting to ignore. Moreover, intelligence suggests that thousands of people are enslaved in the city's factories, forced to work in conditions that amount to slow death. The situation presents Lyons with a moral crisis that will define his leadership. Traditional Brotherhood doctrine would dictate securing any valuable technology while avoiding entanglement in local affairs. But Lyons, influenced by his journey's experiences and his own evolving philosophy, cannot ignore the human suffering he witnesses. After intense debate with his advisors, he makes a decision that shocks traditionalists and inspires progressives. The Brotherhood will liberate Pittsburgh. What follows becomes known as the Scourge, a military operation that demonstrates both the Brotherhood's capabilities and the moral complexities of intervention. Brotherhood forces sweep through the city with devastating efficiency, crushing the raider lords who control the slave operations. Power-armored knights prove nearly invulnerable to the crude weapons of the slavers, while Brotherhood discipline allows them to maintain cohesion in the chaotic urban environment. But liberation proves more complex than simple military victory. The freed slaves include many who are already showing signs of transformation into trogs, presenting impossible choices about who can be saved and who must be abandoned. The industrial facilities, while valuable, are so contaminated that operating them safely would require resources the expedition cannot spare. Most controversially, the Brotherhood discovers that many slaves have children who are less affected by the mutations, raising questions about separating families. Lyons makes decisions that will haunt him for years. The Brotherhood takes the children, believing they can be saved and given better lives elsewhere. Adults showing any signs of the Trog transformation are left behind, condemned to remain in the toxic city. The industrial facilities are stripped of immediately useful equipment, but the infrastructure that could rebuild them is destroyed to prevent future slavery operations. The Scourge's aftermath divides the expedition. Some see it as a noble intervention that saved innocent lives and prevented future atrocities. Others view it as a betrayal of Brotherhood principles, an emotional decision that cost resources and lives for minimal technological gain. The children taken from Pittsburgh, who will grow up to become Brotherhood members themselves, serve as living reminders of the moral complexity inherent in Lyon's choices. After the trauma of Pittsburgh, the expedition continues eastward, finally reaching the outskirts of what was once Washington, DC in 2257. The sight that greets them exceeds even their most pessimistic expectations. The nation's capital, target of multiple nuclear strikes, has become a nightmarish landscape of rubble, radiation, and hostile mutations. Yet even in this devastation, the monuments of American democracy stand as ghostly reminders of what was lost. The expedition's first priority is establishing a secure base of operations. Scouting teams identify several potential locations, but one stands out as ideal: the Pentagon, former headquarters of the American military. While heavily damaged, the facility's sublevels remain largely intact, offering defensible positions, storage areas, and even some functional pre-war systems. The symbolic value of establishing the Brotherhood in America's former military heart is not lost on anyone. Clearing and fortifying what they renamed the Citadel takes months of dangerous work. The building is infested with super mutants who have used it as a base for raiding operations. The fighting is intense and costly, with narrow corridors and destroyed sections creating perfect ambush sites. Sarah Lyons distinguishes herself during these battles, leading strikes that clear crucial areas despite being outnumbered and outgunned. As the Brotherhood establishes itself in the Citadel, they begin to understand the unique challenges of the capital Wasteland. The super mutant presence is far stronger than anything they encountered during the journey, with organized groups controlling large sections of the city. Worse, these mutants seem to have an endless supply of reinforcements, suggesting active FEV production somewhere in the region. The human population of the capital Wasteland presents its own challenges. Scattered settlements struggle to survive, caught between super mutant raids, slaver operations, and the general hazards of the Wasteland. Unlike the more established communities of the West, these people lack even basic technological infrastructure. Clean water is scarce, medical care almost non-existent, and defensive capabilities limited to whatever weapons they can scavenge. Elder Lyons faces a crucial decision about the Brotherhood's role in this new environment. Traditional doctrine would dictate focusing on technology recovery while maintaining minimal contact with local populations, but the desperate situation of capital Wasteland inhabitants, combined with Lyon's own evolving philosophy about the Brotherhood's purpose, pushes him toward a different path. The transformation of the Pentagon into the Brotherhood's eastern headquarters represents more than just military occupation. It becomes a physical manifestation of the organization's evolution under Lyon's leadership. As Brotherhood forces explore deeper into the facility's intact lower levels, they discover treasures beyond their wildest expectations. The Pentagon's military archives, protected by hardened construction and automated preservation systems, contain intact records of pre-war military operations, technological development, and strategic planning. For Brotherhood scribes, it's like discovering a lost library of Alexandria. Decades of research material lies waiting, from power armor development histories to experimental weapons projects that were never completed. More immediately valuable are the facility's workshops and maintenance bays. While damaged, much of the equipment can be restored to functionality. The Brotherhood's engineers work miracles with 2-century-old machinery, establishing production lines for ammunition, basic weapons, and power armor components. For the first time since leaving the West, the expedition can properly maintain and even expand their equipment. The Citadel's defensive capabilities also prove exceptional once restored. Pre-war military engineers built the Pentagon to withstand direct attack, and those defenses served the Brotherhood well against super mutant assaults. Automated turrets, reinforced walls, and carefully planned kill zones allow relatively small Brotherhood forces to hold off vastly superior numbers. But perhaps the most significant discovery is psychological rather than technological. In the Pentagon's memorial halls and historical displays, the Brotherhood finds validation for their mission. The pre-war military's dedication to protecting America and its values resonates with Brotherhood ideals, even if the methods and circumstances have changed dramatically. Some members begin to see themselves not just as the Brotherhood of Steel, but as inheritors of American military tradition. This identification with pre-war America influences how the Eastern Brotherhood develops. Where Western chapters maintain quasi-religious ceremonies derived from their post-war origins, Lyons forces begin incorporating elements of pre-war military tradition. Rank ceremonies include references to historical American military heroes. Training programs draw on pre-war special forces manuals found in the archives. The Brotherhood begins to see itself as the legitimate continuation of American military power. The super mutant threat in the capital Wasteland proved to be qualitatively different from what the Brotherhood has faced before. These aren't scattered remnants of the Master's army or random mutations, but an organized force with seemingly unlimited reinforcements. Every super mutant killed is eventually replaced, suggesting active production that the Brotherhood must locate and eliminate. Initial encounters followed predictable patterns. Brotherhood patrols engage super mutant groups in the ruins of DC, achieving tactical victories through superior training and equipment. But these victories feel hollow when the same areas must be cleared again weeks later. The super mutants show a disturbing willingness to absorb casualties, throwing themselves at Brotherhood positions with suicidal determination. The urban environment of downtown DC creates unique tactical challenges. Collapsed buildings create maze-like battlefields where super mutant strength and durability provide significant advantages. The metro tunnels, which could provide covered movement routes, are so infested with hostile creatures that they're often more dangerous than surface travel. Every block must be fought for, cleared, and then defended against reoccupation. Sarah Lyons emerges as the Brotherhood's premier super mutant fighter during this period. Leading an elite unit that becomes known as Lyons Pride, she develops innovative tactics for urban combat against physically superior enemies. Her emphasis on mobility, coordinated fire, and psychological warfare proves devastatingly effective. The Pride's success inspires other units to adopt similar approaches. Intelligence gathering reveals the source of the super mutant threat, Vault 87, where Thief experimentation continues 2 centuries after the war. The Vault's location and defenses make direct assault impractical, forcing the Brotherhood to focus on containment rather than elimination. This strategic frustration influences Lyons' decisions about resource allocation and mission priorities. The constant combat takes its toll on Brotherhood forces. Unlike the West, where threats could often be avoided or negotiated with, the capital Wasteland offers no respite. Every patrol risks casualties. Every mission could be someone's last. The Brotherhood begins recruiting from local populations out of sheer necessity, abandoning traditional restrictions in favor of anyone who can hold a weapon and follow orders. The Brotherhood's discovery of Project Purity represents a convergence of technology, idealism, and practical necessity that will define their role in the capital Wasteland. When scouts report a massive pre-war water purification facility built into the Jefferson Memorial, Elder Lyons personally leads the team to investigate what could be the key to transforming the region. What they find exceeds their expectations. Project Purity was designed to purify the entire Potomac River basin, providing clean water to millions. The technology involved is advanced even by pre-war standards, incorporating experimental filtration systems and radiation scrubbers that could transform the capital Wasteland's most critical resource. More surprisingly, they discover evidence of recent activity. Someone has been trying to restore the facility. The Brotherhood makes contact with the science team led by James and Catherine, brilliant researchers who share Lyon's vision of using technology to help humanity rather than simply hoarding it. The initial meetings are tense, with mutual suspicion on both sides, but common purpose eventually prevails. The scientists need the Brotherhood's protection and resources, while the Brotherhood recognizes the transformative potential of the project. This partnership represents a radical departure from traditional Brotherhood doctrine. Rather than confiscating the technology and restricting access, Lyons commits Brotherhood resources to helping complete the project. Scribes work alongside civilian scientists, sharing knowledge that would normally be classified. Knights provide security for the facility, defending it against super mutant attacks and raider attempts at sabotage. The birth of the project leader's child at the facility adds human dimension to what could have been a purely technical endeavor. Brotherhood members, many of whom have served for years without normal human connections, find themselves invested in this symbol of hope for the future. When tragedy strikes and Catherine dies in childbirth, the Brotherhood's medical team does everything possible, their failure hitting harder because it feels personal. Project Purity becomes a rallying point for those within the Brotherhood who support Lyon's humanitarian approach. Here is concrete proof that technology can serve the common good, that the Brotherhood's knowledge and resources can transform lives rather than simply preserving artifacts. But it also deepens the divide with traditionalists who see the project as a dangerous deviation from core principles. The growing philosophical divide within Lyon's expedition finally reaches a breaking point in 2276. A group of Brotherhood members, led by Paladin Henry Castin, formally protest what they see as Lyon's abandonment of the Codex and fundamental Brotherhood principles. When their concerns are dismissed, they take the unprecedented step of declaring separation from Lyon's command. As these self-styled outcasts represent a significant portion of the expedition's original members, those who joined expecting a traditional technology recovery mission, not a humanitarian crusade. They argue, not without merit, that Lyons has exceeded his authority, transforming a temporary expedition into a permanent deviation from Brotherhood doctrine. The resources spent protecting Wastelanders and supporting projects like Purity should be focused on the Brotherhood's core mission. The confrontation between Lyons and Castin becomes the stuff of Brotherhood legend. Two veterans who have served together for decades face off in the Citadel's courtyard, each arguing their vision of what the Brotherhood should be. Lyons speaks of evolution and adaptation, of the Brotherhood's responsibility to use their advantages for the greater good. Castin invokes tradition and the wisdom of the founders, warning that deviation from proven principles leads to destruction. When words fail to resolve the dispute, the Outcasts gather their supporters and equipment, leaving the Citadel for the last time. They establish their own bases in the capital Wasteland, focusing on traditional technology recovery while maintaining minimal contact with local populations. Their red and black painted armor becomes a familiar sight at pre-war facilities, where they often come into conflict with Lion's forces over salvage rights. The schism has practical consequences beyond the loss of personnel. The Outcasts take with them significant amounts of equipment and, more critically, experienced technical specialists. Several crucial research projects stall without their expertise. Military operations must be reorganized to compensate for the reduced numbers. Most painfully, the division splits many personal relationships, with friends and even family members choosing different sides. For Elder Lyons, the schism represents both failure and vindication. He has failed to maintain unity within his command, losing valuable members to philosophical differences. But the fact that he retains the majority of the expedition, including most younger members, suggests that his vision resonates with those who have experienced the capital wasteland's realities. The Brotherhood that remains is smaller but more unified in purpose. In the years following the schism, a new generation of Brotherhood leadership emerges in the capital Wasteland, embodied most powerfully by Sarah Lyons and her elite unit. Sarah, who began the Eastern Expedition as a young knight captain, has evolved into one of the most formidable warriors in Brotherhood history. Her experiences fighting super mutants in the urban hellscape of DC have shaped her into a leader who combines tactical brilliance with genuine concern for those under her protection. Lion's Pride, the unit she commands, represents the best of what the Eastern Brotherhood has become. Originally formed as a rapid response team for super mutant threats, the Pride evolves into something more, a symbol of hope for capital wasteland inhabitants, and a model for Brotherhood operations. The unit's members are selected not just for combat prowess, but for their commitment to protecting innocent lives, even at personal risk. The Pride's composition reflects the Eastern Brotherhood's more inclusive recruitment policies. While some members are Brotherhood-born, others are Wastelanders who proved themselves worthy of inclusion. This diversity brings different perspectives and skills, making the unit more adaptable than traditional Brotherhood forces. Each member brings their own expertise: demolitions, marksmanship, close combat, or technical support. Sarah's leadership style differs markedly from traditional Brotherhood commanders. Where others maintain strict military hierarchy, she fosters a sense of family within the Pride. Members are encouraged to voice opinions and contribute to tactical planning. This collaborative approach, while unorthodox by Brotherhood standards, produces exceptional results. The Pride's mission success rate far exceeds that of conventional units. The unit's operations range from direct assault on super mutant strongholds to delicate escort missions for civilian caravans. Each mission becomes a training opportunity, with Sarah ensuring that lessons learned are documented and shared with other Brotherhood forces. The Pride's after-action reports become required reading at the Citadel, their tactics studied and adapted by other units. Sarah's personal charisma and combat achievements make her a living legend among capital wasteland inhabitants. Stories of her single-handedly holding a bridge against a super mutant assault or leading a desperate charge to save a besieged settlement spread throughout the region. Unlike distant Brotherhood elders, she is visible and accessible, often taking time to train settlement militias or advise on defensive preparation. Under the influence of leaders like Sarah Lyons, the Eastern Brotherhood develops comprehensive programs for protecting and assisting capital wasteland settlements. This approach, revolutionary by traditional Brotherhood standards, transforms the organization from mysterious technology hoarders into active protectors of humanity's remnants. The Brotherhood establishes regular patrol routes connecting major settlements, providing security for traders and travelers. These patrols do more than just fight hostiles. They carry medical supplies, share intelligence about threats, and even assist with basic repairs. For many Wastelanders, the Brotherhood Patrol represents the first reliable outside help they've ever received. Training programs for settlement militias become another crucial initiative. Brotherhood instructors teach basic marksmanship, small unit tactics, and defensive planning to civilian volunteers. While these militias cannot match Brotherhood warriors, they become capable of defending against common threats like raiders and feral ghouls. The psychological impact is equally important. Communities gain confidence from their ability to protect themselves. Medical assistance programs showcase the humanitarian side of Lion's Brotherhood. Scribes with medical training regularly visit settlements, providing care that would otherwise be unavailable. They treat radiation sickness, perform basic surgery, and train local healers in improved techniques. Infant mortality rates drop significantly in settlements receiving Brotherhood medical support, creating generational gratitude. The Brotherhood also shares limited technical knowledge with trusted communities. They teach water purification techniques, basic electronics repair, and agricultural improvements that increase crop yields. This knowledge transfer, carefully controlled to avoid dangerous technology proliferation, significantly improves quality of life for thousands of Wastelanders. These protection efforts create a virtuous cycle. Grateful settlements provide intelligence about threats, assist Brotherhood forces with supplies and shelter, and increasingly send their best young people to join the organization. The Eastern Brotherhood's ranks swell with motivated recruits who have personally experienced the organization's positive impact. Not all Brotherhood members embrace these humanitarian efforts. Some veterans grumble about resources spent on Wastelander welfare that could be used for technology recovery. But results speak louder than complaints. Areas under Brotherhood protection see decreased raider activity, improved public health, and growing prosperity that benefits everyone, including the Brotherhood itself. The humanitarian focus of Lion's leadership creates ongoing tensions within the Eastern Brotherhood, tensions that go beyond the obvious schism with the Outcasts. Even among those who remained loyal, debates rage about the proper balance between traditional Brotherhood missions and their new role as regional protectors. Conservative voices within the Citadel argue that each resource spent on civilian protection is a resource not used for technology preservation. They point to the growing technological capabilities of groups like the Enclave and Institute as evidence that the Brotherhood is falling behind in its core mission. Every night assigned to settlement protection is one not available for critical salvage operations. These critics have legitimate concerns. The Eastern Brotherhood's focus on immediate humanitarian needs has indeed slowed their acquisition of advanced technology. Several promising pre-war facilities remain unexplored because forces are tied up with protection duties. The Outcasts, focused solely on technology recovery, have made significant finds that Lyon's forces missed due to other commitments. Younger Brotherhood members, especially those recruited from the Wasteland, push in the opposite direction. They argue that technology preservation means nothing if there's no civilization left to benefit from it. These progressives want even greater engagement with Wasteland communities, including sharing more advanced technology and establishing formal alliances with major settlements. Elder Lyons himself struggles to balance these competing visions. His correspondence, preserved in Citadel archives, reveals a leader torn between his humanitarian instincts and his duty to Brotherhood tradition. He implements compromise policies that satisfy no one completely. Limited technology sharing that conservatives see as excessive and progressives view as insufficient. The debate intensifies when resource allocation decisions must be made. Should the Brotherhood's limited manufacturing capabilities produce water purifiers for settlements or ammunition for technology recovery missions? Should new recruits be trained as combat medics to help civilians, or as technical specialists to maintain the Brotherhood's technological edge? Each decision becomes a philosophical battleground. These internal conflicts, while not reaching the level of another schism, create an atmosphere of constant tension within the Citadel. Personal relationships strain as philosophical differences affect daily interactions. The unity of purpose that once defined the Brotherhood gives way to a more complex organizational culture, where multiple visions of the future compete for dominance. The year 2277 brings a threat that temporarily unites all Brotherhood factions and validates both traditional and progressive philosophies. The Enclave, thought destroyed in the West decades ago, emerges in the capital Wasteland with technological superiority that shocks even veteran Brotherhood members. Their vertibirds darken the skies, their advanced power armor makes regular troops nearly invulnerable, and their energy weapons outclass anything in the Brotherhood arsenal. The Enclave's arrival is announced by acts of stunning brutality. They seize Project Purity, killing James and scattering the science team. They establish fortified positions throughout the Wasteland, using orbital strikes to eliminate any resistance. Most terrifyingly, they begin broadcasting propaganda, claiming to be the legitimate United States government returned to reclaim its territory. For Elder Lyons, the Enclave represents everything the Brotherhood opposes: technology used for oppression rather than protection, knowledge hoarded by those who would abuse it, and a vision of genetic purity that would doom most of humanity. The humanitarian focus that some criticized now proves its worth, as grateful settlements provide intelligence and support that the isolated outcasts cannot match. The war that follows tests every aspect of Brotherhood training and philosophy. Direct confrontations prove disastrous. Enclave technology and training create kill ratios that favor them heavily. The Brotherhood must adopt guerrilla tactics, using their knowledge of local terrain and support from wasteland communities to offset technological disadvantages. Sarah Lyons and her pride become the spearhead of Brotherhood resistance. Their mobility and unconventional tactics allow them to strike Enclave positions and retreat before overwhelming force arrives. Each successful mission boosts morale and proves that the Enclave can be beaten, even if victory requires sacrifice and innovation beyond traditional Brotherhood doctrine. The war also forces cooperation between Lyons' Brotherhood and the Outcasts. Faced with a common enemy possessing superior technology, old grievances temporarily fade. Joint operations see Red and Beckass armor fighting alongside Lyons' forces, their combined expertise proving more effective than either group alone. Some hope this cooperation might heal the schism, though fundamental differences remain. The key to defeating the Enclave lies not in contemporary innovation, but in pre-war legacy. Deep within the Citadel's lowest levels sits Liberty Prime, a massive military robot that represents the pinnacle of pre-war American military technology. Incomplete when the bombs fell, the robot has resisted all attempts at activation, despite decades of Brotherhood effort. The project to complete Liberty Prime becomes the Eastern Brotherhood's highest priority. Every available technical specialist, including reluctantly cooperating outcasts, contributes to the effort. The robot systems are incredibly complex, requiring not just repair, but completion of work abandoned 2 centuries ago. Power systems must be rebuilt, weapons integrated, and, most challengingly, the sophisticated AI brought online. The scribe Rothschild leads the technical effort, coordinating dozens of specialists in what becomes the most complex engineering project in post-war history. Each system presents unique challenges. The power plant requires components that must be manufactured from scratch. The weapons systems need ammunition types that haven't existed for centuries, and the AI requires programming expertise that pushes Brotherhood knowledge to its limits. The human cost of the project is significant. Resources that could support military operations or civilian assistance are redirected to Prime's completion. Brotherhood forces suffer defeats they might have avoided with better equipment. Settlements go without planned assistance. But Elder Lyons, supported by his daughter and other leaders, maintains that Prime represents their only hope for decisive victory. When Liberty Prime finally activates, the moment is both triumphant and sobering. The robot's massive form rises in the Citadel courtyard, its pre-war propaganda broadcasts echoing across the wasteland. This weapon, designed for a war that destroyed the world, now serves those trying to rebuild it. The irony is not lost on anyone present. Prime's combat deployment exceeds all expectations. The robot's immunity to small arms fire, devastating energy weapons, and tactical nuclear arsenal make it essentially unstoppable by Enclave forces. More importantly, its psychological impact is enormous. The sight of this pre-war titan advancing on Enclave positions while broadcasting patriotic slogans demoralizes enemies and inspires allies. The final battle of the Enclave War takes place at Adams Air Force Base, where the Enclave has concentrated their remaining forces and equipment. The assault represents the largest Brotherhood military operation since the NCR War, with every available soldier participating in what all understand will be the decisive engagement. Liberty Prime leads the assault, its massive form drawing fire that would annihilate human forces. Behind the robot, Brotherhood troops advance in coordinated waves, using Prime's destruction of Enclave heavy weapons to close distance and engage. The Pride, as always, leads the most dangerous assaults, with Sarah Lyons personally directing the breach of Enclave command positions. The battle showcases how far the Eastern Brotherhood has evolved tactically. Instead of the rigid formations of traditional Doctrine, they employ flexible small unit tactics adapted from Wasteland combat. Mixed units of Knights and Wastelander recruits support each other, combining Brotherhood training with local knowledge. Even some Outcasts participate, their technical expertise crucial for neutralizing Enclave defensive systems. The Enclave's resistance is fierce, but ultimately futile. Their technological advantages mean little against Liberty Prime's firepower and the Brotherhood's determination. As their defensive lines crumble, some Enclave forces attempt to flee in vertibirds, only to be shot down by Brotherhood missile teams positioned in anticipation of such attempts. The base's capture yields technological treasures beyond the Brotherhood's wildest dreams. Vertibirds, advanced power armor, energy weapons, and vast archives of pre-war knowledge fall into Brotherhood hands. More importantly, intelligence recovered reveals the full scope of Enclave operations, allowing the Brotherhood to hunt down remaining cells before they can reorganize. Victory brings both celebration and reflection. The Eastern Brotherhood has achieved something their Western counterparts failed to do: decisively defeat a technologically superior enemy. But the cost has been high, with many brave soldiers falling to Enclave weapons. The challenge now becomes managing victory's aftermath, while maintaining the unity forged in conflict. The Enclave War's end validates both aspects of Lyon's philosophy. Traditional Brotherhood values of technology preservation prove crucial. Without technical expertise, Liberty Prime could never have been activated. but the humanitarian approach provides equally important advantages through intelligence, recruitment, and popular support. The synthesis of old and new creates a brotherhood stronger than either approach alone. The years following the Enclave War should be a time of triumph and consolidation for the Eastern Brotherhood. With their greatest enemy defeated and vast technological resources at their disposal, they seem poised to bring unprecedented prosperity to the capital Wasteland. But in 2278, tragedy strikes when Elder Owen Lyons passes away, his body finally succumbing to the accumulated stress of decades of leadership. Lyons' death creates an immediate succession crisis. Unlike the Western Brotherhood's formal succession procedures, the Eastern chapter has evolved its own traditions that blend military hierarchy with democratic elements. Sarah Lyons seems the obvious successor. She has her father's vision, the loyalty of the troops, and proven leadership abilities, but her relative youth and progressive views concern conservative elements. The debate over succession reveals deep divisions that victory had temporarily masked. Conservatives push for a return to traditional Brotherhood values, arguing that with the Enclave defeated, the chapter can refocus on technology preservation. Progressives want to build on Lyons' humanitarian legacy, using captured Enclave resources to transform the capital Wasteland. Moderates seek compromise but struggle to articulate a coherent vision. Sarah Lyons initially assumes leadership as elder, but her tenure is tragically brief. In 2279, she dies in combat under mysterious circumstances, officially killed during a routine patrol, but many suspect assassination by conservative elements or remaining Enclave agents. Her death shocks the Brotherhood and eliminates the most obvious carrier of her father's legacy. What follows is a period of instability unique in Brotherhood history. Multiple elders rise and fall in quick succession, none able to maintain authority for long. Some die in combat, others lose support and step down, and at least one simply disappears without explanation. The Brotherhood continues to function, but without clear direction or unified purpose. This succession crisis weakens the Eastern Brotherhood just when strong leadership is most needed. Captured Enclave technology sits unused because no elder remains in power long enough to implement integration plans. Relations with Wasteland settlements deteriorate as Brotherhood policy shifts with each new leader. Even basic operations like patrol routes and resource allocation suffer from constant changes in direction. The Outcasts watch this chaos with a mixture of satisfaction and concern. Some see it as validation of their warnings about deviating from tradition. Others worry that the Eastern Brotherhood's collapse could threaten their own operations. A few even consider reconciliation, believing that unity might stabilize the situation. But pride and philosophical differences prevent serious negotiation. In the midst of the Eastern Brotherhood's succession crisis, hope emerges from an unexpected source. A young man named Arthur Maxon, last descendant of the Brotherhood's founder. Born in 2022-67 at the Citadel, Arthur represents a living link to the organization's origins, carrying in his blood the legacy of Roger Maxon himself. Arthur's early years are shaped by the unique circumstances of his heritage. From birth, he is treated with a mixture of reverence and expectation that would crush a weaker spirit. Brotherhood members see in him the potential for renewed purpose, a leader who could unite the organization's fractured elements through the sheer weight of his bloodline. But young Arthur proves to be more than just a symbolic figure. Even as a child, he demonstrates exceptional intelligence and an intuitive understanding of technology that amazes veteran scribes. By age 10, he can disassemble and reassemble laser weapons blindfolded. By 12, he's contributing meaningful improvements to power armor systems. His technical gifts, combined with his bloodline, make him the focus of intense interest and careful cultivation. His education encompasses every aspect of Brotherhood knowledge and tradition. Elite paladins train him in combat, master scribes share their deepest technical knowledge, and historians ensure he understands every detail of Brotherhood history. But Arthur also learns from the chaos surrounding him, witnessing firsthand the consequences of weak leadership and philosophical division. The young Maxon's character is forged in the crucible of the capital Wasteland's dangers. At age 13, he kills his first super mutant during an attack on a Brotherhood patrol, not from a safe distance, but in desperate close combat when the creature breached their lines. At 15, he leads his first squad in battle, his tactical acumen already surpassing that of veterans decades his senior. What truly sets Arthur apart is his ability to synthesize different aspects of Brotherhood philosophy. He embraces technology preservation with religious fervor, but understands the practical necessity of engaging with the Wasteland. He respects tradition while recognizing the need for adaptation. Most importantly, he possesses a charisma that makes others want to follow him, regardless of their philosophical leanings. Arthur Maxon's rise to power begins in earnest when, at the unprecedented age of 16, he is appointed Elder of the Eastern Brotherhood. His youth would normally disqualify him, but the combination of his bloodline, proven abilities, and the desperate need for stable leadership overcome traditional objections. His first acts as Elder demonstrate political sophistication beyond his years. Understanding that the Brotherhood cannot remain divided and survive, Maxon makes reunification with the Outcasts his highest priority. But rather than approaching them from a position of weakness or desperation, he carefully orchestrates conditions that make reconciliation appear to be the Outcasts' idea. He begins by implementing policies that address some of their core concerns, refocusing on technology acquisition while maintaining humanitarian efforts. Maxon personally leads missions to secure significant technological finds, demonstrating that traditional Brotherhood values remain important under his leadership. His youth works to his advantage here. Outcasts who might resist another elder find it harder to dismiss a teenager who fights beside them and shares their risks. His obvious technical expertise and combat prowess earn respect that transcends political divisions. The formal reconciliation negotiations showcase Maxon's diplomatic skills. He meets with Outcast leaders not in the Citadel but on neutral ground, acknowledging their independence and showing respect for their positions. He speaks eloquently about the need for unity, invoking the memory of Roger Maxon and the Brotherhood's founding principles, while acknowledging that both sides have valid perspectives. The terms of reunification carefully balance both factions' concerns. The Outcasts are welcomed back with full honors, their time apart characterized as a special mission rather than rebellion. Their technological finds are integrated into Brotherhood arsenals, validating their efforts. In return, they accept Maxon's leadership and agree to support limited humanitarian efforts, as strategically necessary for the Brotherhood's mission. The reunification ceremony becomes a defining moment for the Eastern Brotherhood. Veterans who had served together before the schism embrace with tears, while younger members who knew only division witness the power of unity. Maxon's speech that day, invoking both Roger Maxon's vision and Owen Lyons' compassion, creates a new synthesis that most find compelling. With the Brotherhood reunited, Elder Maxon begins implementing his vision for the organization's future. This vision, while respecting the humanitarian innovations of the Lyons era, marks a decisive return to more traditional Brotherhood values and methods. Maxon argues that the Brotherhood lost its way not by helping Wastelanders, but by losing sight of its core mission in the process. Under Maxon's leadership, technology acquisition and preservation return to the forefront of Brotherhood activities. Patrols are reorganized to prioritize sites of potential technological significance. Resources previously allocated to settlement protection are redirected to salvage operations and research. The Brotherhood remains willing to help civilians, but only when such assistance doesn't conflict with primary objectives. The recruiting policies undergo significant revision. Where Lions welcomed almost anyone willing to serve, Maxon implements strict standards based on genetic purity, technical aptitude, and ideological alignment. The Wastelander recruits who joined under Lions find themselves subjected to additional screening and indoctrination. Some fail these new tests and are expelled, creating resentment but also ensuring greater unity among those who remain. Maxon's approach to technology sharing becomes notably more restrictive. Advanced weapons and equipment previously provided to Allied settlements are recalled or destroyed. Technical knowledge is once again classified, with severe penalties for unauthorized sharing. The Brotherhood positions itself as the sole arbiter of what technology Wastelanders can be trusted to use. These changes don't happen without resistance. Veterans of the Lions era, particularly those who served in the Pride, question whether abandoning humanitarian principles betrays their fallen comrades' sacrifices. Some settlements that had come to depend on Brotherhood assistance feel abandoned and betrayed, but Maxon's charisma and the obvious improvements in Brotherhood efficiency gradually quiet most dissent. The new policies prove their worth through concrete achievements. Technology recovery operations yield significant finds, including intact databases that advance Brotherhood knowledge in multiple fields. Military efficiency improves dramatically as resources concentrate on core missions. The Brotherhood's technological edge, which had eroded during the humanitarian years, begins to reassert itself. Elder Maxon's strategic vision extends beyond philosophical realignment to encompass a complete transformation of the Brotherhood's military and technological capabilities. Understanding that the organization's future depends on projecting power beyond the capital Wasteland, he initiates ambitious programs that will culminate in achievements surpassing even pre-war capabilities. Hemisphere, Hairsphere, Sino. The construction of the Predwen represents the pinnacle of Maxon's ambitions. This massive airship, built using recovered Enclave technology and Brotherhood innovation, takes years to complete. Every aspect of its design reflects Maxon's philosophy: overwhelming technological superiority used to project Brotherhood power and intimidate potential enemies. The ship serves as mobile command center, weapons platform, and symbol of Brotherhood resurgence. Parallel to the Pridwen's construction, Maxon oversees the systematic upgrade of Brotherhood military forces. Power armor units are standardized and improved using captured Enclave designs. Energy weapons are mass-produced in quantities that would have amazed previous generations. Training programs are intensified, creating soldiers who combine traditional Brotherhood excellence with adaptations from Wasteland combat experience. The Brotherhood's intelligence network expands dramatically under Maxon's direction. Scribes are trained in espionage techniques and deployed throughout the eastern Wasteland to gather information. This network provides early warning of threats and identifies technological resources for recovery. More controversially, it also monitors potential dissidents within the Brotherhood itself, ensuring ideological conformity. Maxon personally leads many high-profile missions, understanding that visible leadership strengthens his authority. His combat prowess becomes legendary. Stories spread of him single-handedly defeating entire raider gangs or facing down death claws with nothing but a combat knife. While some tales are exaggerated, His genuine accomplishments are impressive enough to inspire fierce loyalty among his followers. The transformation extends to the Brotherhood's relationship with technology itself. Under Maxon, the organization moves beyond simply preserving pre-war knowledge to actively advancing it. Research programs combine recovered science with new innovations, creating technologies that surpass their pre-war predecessors. This technological renaissance gives the Brotherhood capabilities that no other faction can match. Recognizing that the Brotherhood's long-term survival requires fresh blood, Elder Maxon authorizes the most aggressive recruitment campaign in the organization's history. But unlike the inclusive approach of the Leon's era, these efforts target specific populations deemed genetically and ideologically suitable for Brotherhood membership. Recruitment teams, composed of charismatic veterans and technically proficient scribes, fan out across the Wasteland. They seek individuals who combine useful skills with the right genetic markers, minimal radiation exposure, no obvious mutations, and ideally traceable pre-war ancestry. These standards eliminate most Wastelanders, but ensure that those recruited can fully utilize advanced Brotherhood equipment. The recruitment process itself becomes a sophisticated operation. Potential candidates are subjected to extensive physical and psychological testing. Medical examinations screen for genetic abnormalities and radiation damage. Intelligence tests identify technical aptitude. Most importantly, psychological profiles ensure ideological compatibility with Maxon's vision of the Brotherhood. Children receive special attention in recruitment efforts. Brotherhood teams identify promising youth in Wasteland settlements, offering their families resources in exchange for allowing the children to join training programs. These young recruits, raised from childhood in Brotherhood traditions, become Maxon's most devoted followers. Their loyalty is absolute, their skills honed from the earliest age. The Squire program, formalized under Maxon, pairs young recruits with veteran knights and paladins. This mentorship system ensures that Brotherhood values are transmitted directly, while providing practical training in combat and technology. Squires who prove themselves eventually earn full membership, creating a pipeline of highly trained and ideologically committed personnel. Adult recruitment focuses on individuals with specific, valuable skills. Former Enclave personnel who can pass loyalty screenings are welcomed for their technical knowledge. Wasteland mechanics and engineers are recruited to maintain the Brotherhood's expanding arsenal. Even former raiders are considered if they demonstrate exceptional combat abilities and willingness to submit to Brotherhood discipline. The Brotherhood's technological capabilities advance more under Arthur Maxon's leadership than in any period since the organization's founding. This progress stems from a combination of recovered pre-war knowledge, captured enemy technology, and genuine innovation driven by the challenges of the post-war world. The Pridwin serves as both symbol and practical demonstration of these advances. Its construction requires solving engineering problems that stumped pre-war designers. The fusion plant that powers it incorporates efficiency improvements that exceed original specifications. Its armor uses composite materials that provide better protection at lower weight. Every system represents an improvement over pre-war equivalents. Weapons development receives particular emphasis. Brotherhood researchers don't simply maintain existing energy weapons, they improve them. Laser rifles are modified for increased range and penetration. Plasma weapons are stabilized for greater reliability. Most significantly, entirely new weapon systems are developed, combining pre-war principles with post-war innovation to create devastating new armament. Power armor technology advances dramatically. The T-60 series, developed under Maxon's direction, incorporates lessons learned from decades of field use. Improved joint articulation increases mobility. Enhanced rad shielding allows extended operations in contaminated areas. Integrated tactical systems provide users with battlefield awareness that pre-war designers could only dream of. Medical technology also sees significant advancement. Brotherhood Medical Corps developed new treatments for radiation exposure, improved stim packs that accelerate healing, and surgical techniques that can save lives that would have been lost even before the war. These advances not only benefit Brotherhood personnel but become valuable tools for maintaining loyalty among allied groups. Perhaps most importantly, the Brotherhood under Maxon develops the institutional capacity for continued technological advancement. Research programs are formalized with clear paths for proposing, testing, and implementing innovations. Knowledge is systematically preserved and transmitted to ensure that advances aren't lost to accident or time. The Brotherhood transforms from an organization that merely preserves technology to one that actively advances it. Elder Maxon's philosophical contributions to the Brotherhood culminate in his articulation of the chain that binds Doctrine. This comprehensive ideological framework synthesizes traditional Brotherhood values with lessons learned from both Western isolation and Eastern experimentation, creating a unified vision that resonates throughout the organization. The Doctrine's central metaphor, the chain, represents multiple interconnected concepts. Each Brotherhood member is a link, individually strong but gaining true power only through connection with others. The chain extends through time, linking current members to founders and future generations. It binds the Brotherhood to its mission while acknowledging that flexibility prevents breaking under pressure. At its core, the Doctrine reaffirms technology control as the Brotherhood's primary mission. Maxon argues that the Great War proved humanity cannot be trusted with unlimited technological power. The Brotherhood serves as humanity's guardian, protecting it from its own self-destructive impulses. This responsibility supersedes all other considerations, including humanitarian concerns or political expediency. But the Doctrine also acknowledges realities that pure traditionalists ignored. Maxon recognizes that complete isolation leads to stagnation and eventual irrelevance. The Brotherhood must engage with the outside world, if only to maintain intelligence about threats and opportunities. Limited cooperation with outsiders is acceptable when it serves Brotherhood interests. The chain that binds addresses the question of recruitment and expansion that has plagued the Brotherhood since its founding. Maxon argues for selective growth. The chain strengthens by adding new links, but only those forged to proper specifications. Quality matters more than quantity. Each new member must be capable of bearing the weight of Brotherhood responsibility. Military doctrine receives extensive treatment. The chain metaphor extends to tactical thinking. Flexibility and coordinated movement create strength, while rigid positioning invites breaking. Brotherhood forces should strike where the enemy is weak, withdraw when overwhelmed, and always maintain unit cohesion. Individual heroics are discouraged in favor of collective effectiveness. The Doctrine's treatment of outsiders proves most controversial. While rejecting the extreme humanitarianism of Lions, Maxon acknowledges that Wasteland communities serve Brotherhood interests by maintaining order and producing resources. Limited assistance to strategically important settlements is justified as enlightened self-interest. However, the Brotherhood's needs always take precedence. The year 2287 marks another pivotal moment in Brotherhood history, as Elder Maxon, now a seasoned leader at age 20, orders the Pridwen to set course for the Commonwealth, the region surrounding the ruins of Boston. This decision, years in the planning, represents the culmination of Maxon's vision for an expansionist brotherhood that actively seeks out and eliminates technological threats rather than waiting for them to emerge. Intelligence reports filtering back to the capital Wasteland paint a disturbing picture of the Commonwealth. Stories speak of synthetic humans indistinguishable from real people, of kidnappings and replacements, of technology that threatens the very definition of humanity. For Maxon and his advisors, these reports indicate a threat potentially greater than the Enclave, one that must be confronted before it spreads beyond containment. The Pridwen's journey north becomes a demonstration of Brotherhood power, designed to inspire both awe and fear. The massive airship moves slowly but deliberately, its shadow passing over settlements that have never seen such pre-war marvels. Brotherhood vertibirds range ahead and to the flanks, establishing temporary bases and gathering intelligence about the route ahead. Aboard the Pridwen, hundreds of Brotherhood personnel prepare for what many expect to be their greatest challenge. Knights check and recheck their power armor. Scribes review intelligence reports and technical specifications, and lancers drill constantly in vertibird operations. The atmosphere combines excitement at the mission ahead with apprehension about the unknown threats they'll face. Elder Maxon uses the journey to reinforce Brotherhood ideology among his troops. Daily briefings emphasize the insidious nature of the Institute threat, how synthetic infiltrators could undermine human society from within, how unchecked artificial intelligence could lead to humanity's extinction. He frames the coming campaign as nothing less than a war for the survival of authentic humanity. The Brotherhood's arrival in the Commonwealth is carefully orchestrated for maximum psychological impact. The Pridwen appears over Boston Airport at dawn, its massive form silhouetted against the rising sun. Vertibirds deploy in perfect formation, establishing a perimeter and beginning construction of forward operating bases. Within hours, the Brotherhood has established a presence that cannot be ignored. The transformation of Boston Airport into the Brotherhood's primary Commonwealth base showcases their operational efficiency and technological superiority. What was once a ruin inhabited by feral ghouls becomes, within weeks, a fortified stronghold bristling with defensive weapons and advanced technology. The airport's strategic value is immediately apparent. Its location provides easy access to downtown Boston while remaining defensible against ground assault. The intact runways allow vertibird operations, while proximity to water enables supply deliveries. Most importantly, the airport's pre-war construction provides solid foundations for Brotherhood improvements. Knight Captain Cade establishes the base's medical facilities, creating treatment centers that surpass anything available in the Commonwealth. Proctor Tegan organizes supply lines and requisition systems that keep Brotherhood forces equipped and fed. Proctor Quinlan creates an intelligence center that begins mapping Institute activities and Commonwealth threats. The base's defenses receive particular attention. Automated turrets with overlapping fields of fire make ground assaults suicidal. Laser barriers channel potential attackers into kill zones. Most impressively, the guns of the Pridwen itself provide artillery support that can reach anywhere in the greater Boston area. Within weeks, Boston Airport becomes one of the most fortified positions in the post-war world. But the Brotherhood's presence extends beyond military fortification. They begin recruiting from the Commonwealth population, seeking individuals who meet their strict genetic and ideological standards. These recruitment efforts create both opportunity and resentment among locals. Opportunity for those deemed worthy, resentment from those rejected or who see the Brotherhood as invaders. The airport also becomes a hub for Brotherhood patrols throughout the Commonwealth. Knights in power armor become increasingly common sights on the roads and in settlements. These patrols serve multiple purposes: gathering intelligence, eliminating threats, and demonstrating Brotherhood power to both potential allies and enemies. As the Brotherhood establishes itself in the Commonwealth, the true nature of the Institute threat becomes increasingly clear. Unlike the Enclave's overt military aggression or the Master's obvious mutations, the Institute operates through infiltration and subversion, making them a more insidious enemy. Intelligence operations reveal the Institute's modus operandi, replacing key individuals with synthetic duplicates that serve their agenda. These synths are so sophisticated that even close family members cannot detect the substitution. The psychological impact on Commonwealth communities is devastating, creating paranoia and distrust that tears apart settlements from within. Elder Maxon's response to the synth threat reflects his absolutist philosophy. He declares all synths abominations that must be destroyed, regardless of their apparent humanity or individual circumstances. This zero-tolerance policy extends even to synths who have escaped Institute control and seek freedom. In Maxon's view, their very existence threatens humanity's genetic and spiritual purity. The Brotherhood develops protocols for synth detection and elimination. Scribes work to identify biological markers that distinguish synths from humans. Knights are trained in interrogation techniques designed to expose synthetic infiltrators. Most controversially, the Brotherhood authorizes preemptive strikes against suspected synths, accepting collateral damage as necessary for the greater good. The search for the Institute itself proves challenging. Unlike surface facilities that can be located and assaulted, the Institute exists somewhere underground, protected by sophisticated defenses and hidden from conventional detection. The Brotherhood commits significant resources to finding access points, following leads that often prove false or trap-laden. This phase of the campaign reveals both strengths and weaknesses in Maxon's Brotherhood. Their technological capabilities allow them to combat Institute surface operations effectively. Their military discipline prevents the paranoia that cripples civilian communities, but their inflexibility regarding synths creates conflicts with potential allies and blinds them to intelligence opportunities that more nuanced approaches might exploit. The Brotherhood's absolutist stance on synths inevitably brings them into conflict with the Railroad, an underground organization dedicated to helping synths escape Institute control and establish new lives. This conflict represents more than military opposition. It's a fundamental disagreement about the nature of consciousness and the definition of humanity. Initial encounters between Brotherhood patrols and Railroad agents are characterized by mutual suspicion, but not immediate violence. The Railroad operates in secrecy, and the Brotherhood initially considers them a minor concern compared to the Institute itself. However, as the Brotherhood's intelligence network expands, they begin to understand the Railroad's true scope and purpose. Elder Maxon's reaction to the Railroad's activities is predictable, but no less fierce for its inevitability. He views them as dangerously misguided at best, traitors to humanity at worst. By helping synths integrate into human society, the Railroad spreads the very contamination the Brotherhood seeks to eliminate. Their actions are seen as directly undermining the Brotherhood's mission. The Brotherhood begins active operations against the Railroad, raiding suspected safe houses and attempting to decode their communication networks. These operations often fail due to the Railroad's superior operational security and knowledge of local terrain. The cat-and-mouse game between the two organizations escalates, with each side refining tactics to counter the other. The conflict highlights philosophical divisions within the Brotherhood itself. Some members, particularly those who interact with railroad-freed synths, begin to question whether all synths truly deserve destruction. These doubts are ruthlessly suppressed by Brotherhood leadership, but they persist as an undercurrent of dissent that troubles more thoughtful members. The Railroad's leader, Desdemona, proves a worthy adversary for the Brotherhood. Her organization's decentralized structure and emphasis on secrecy make them difficult to eliminate completely. More troublingly for the Brotherhood, the Railroad's humanitarian message resonates with some Commonwealth citizens who might otherwise support the Brotherhood's anti-institute campaign. The Brotherhood's relationship with Commonwealth settlements reflects the pragmatic aspects of Maxon's doctrine. While less humanitarian than the Lion's era, the current Brotherhood recognizes that local support, or at least neutrality, serves their strategic interests. This leads to a complex pattern of interactions that varies significantly between settlements. Major settlements like Diamond City receive particular attention. The Brotherhood establishes trading relationships, exchanging technical services for supplies and information. Brotherhood scribes help maintain the city's water purification systems, while knights provide protection for important caravans. These services create goodwill while also providing intelligence about Institute activities. Smaller settlements face more transactional relationships. The Brotherhood protects them from super mutant attacks or raider threats, but expects payment in food, supplies, or recruits. Settlements that cannot provide adequate compensation find Brotherhood assistance withdrawn, forcing them to fend for themselves or seek other protectors. The Brotherhood's recruitment efforts in settlements create complex dynamics. Families are torn between pride at having members join the prestigious organization and resentment at losing their young people to military service. The Brotherhood's genetic standards mean that some settlements see none of their youth accepted, creating feelings of inadequacy and rejection. Proctor Tegan's requisition policies prove particularly controversial. While officially voluntary, his requests for supplies carry implicit threats. Settlements that refuse Brotherhood requisitions find themselves deprioritized for protection or technical assistance. This soft coercion generates resources for the Brotherhood, but also creates resentment that their enemies exploit. Some settlements actively resist Brotherhood presence, viewing them as authoritarian invaders imposing their will on free communities. These resistant settlements face escalating pressure, first economic isolation, then harassment by Brotherhood patrols, and finally direct military action if they're suspected of harboring synths or Institute agents. No single event better illustrates the complexities and contradictions of Maxon's Brotherhood than the revelation about Paladin Danse, one of the organization's most loyal and accomplished members. Danse, who has served with distinction for years and mentored countless recruits, is discovered to be a synth, the very type of being he has dedicated his life to destroying. The discovery occurs during routine intelligence analysis of recovered Institute data. Scribe Halen's report is thorough and undeniable. Danse is listed as Unit M797, an escaped synth with implanted memories who genuinely believes himself to be human. The revelation sends shockwaves through the Brotherhood, challenging fundamental assumptions about identity and loyalty. For Elder Maxon, the situation presents no ambiguity. His doctrine is clear. All synths must be destroyed, regardless of circumstances. The fact that Danse has served loyally, saved Brotherhood lives, and advanced their cause is irrelevant. His synthetic nature makes him an abomination that cannot be tolerated within Brotherhood ranks. But the practical reality proves more complex. Danse's service record is exemplary. He has trained many of the Brotherhood's current knights, led successful operations against Institute forces, and demonstrated loyalty that surpasses many human members. His squadron refuses to believe the accusation, creating potential for the first serious dissension in Maxon's Brotherhood. The confrontation between Maxon and those who would defend Danse becomes a defining moment for the Eastern Brotherhood. Some argue that Danse's actions prove synths can transcend their programming, that consciousness and choice matter more than origin. Others support Maxon's position, fearing that any exception undermines their entire mission. Danse himself embodies the tragedy of the situation. Upon learning his true nature, his world collapses. Everything he believed about himself, his dedication to the Brotherhood, his hatred of synths, all are revealed as programmed lies. Yet his emotional response, his genuine anguish and consideration of suicide, seem utterly human to those who witness them. Although the Brotherhood's campaign in the Commonwealth reaches critical decision points that will determine not just the fate of the region, but the future direction of the organization itself. The choices made during these pivotal moments reflect the complex moral and strategic considerations that have always defined the Brotherhood's mission. One path sees the Brotherhood achieving total victory through the discovery and destruction of the Institute. Liberty Prime, rebuilt and improved, leads the assault on the Institute's underground complex. The synthetic human source is eliminated, their technology claimed by the Brotherhood, and the Commonwealth freed from the threat of infiltration. This victory validates Maxon's aggressive expansionism and absolutist ideology. In this scenario, the Brotherhood establishes permanent control over the Commonwealth, transforming Boston Airport into a major base that rivals the Citadel. They systematically hunt down remaining synths and railroad agents, establishing technological hegemony over the region. The Commonwealth becomes a model for future Brotherhood expansion, demonstrating how superior technology and unwavering purpose can bring order to the Wasteland. Alternative outcomes see the Brotherhood facing unexpected defeats or Pyrrhic victories. If the Institute's defenses prove stronger than anticipated, the Brotherhood might find themselves in a prolonged conflict that drains resources and morale. The loss of Liberty Prime or the Pridwen would be catastrophic, potentially forcing a humiliating withdrawal from the Commonwealth. Some possibilities involve uncomfortable compromises. The Brotherhood might be forced to ally with local factions they consider inferior, diluting their ideological purity for strategic necessity. They might discover that destroying the Institute creates unforeseen consequences. Perhaps the facilities react to threatening regional devastation, forcing them to occupy rather than obliterate it. The question of synth survivors remains contentious, regardless of military outcome. Even with the Institute destroyed, hundreds or thousands of synths remain in the Commonwealth. Does the Brotherhood pursue genocidal extermination, potentially alienating allies and exhausting resources? Or do they accept some form of coexistence, compromising their principles for practical governance? Each potential ending carries implications for the Brotherhood's future. Victory strengthens Maxon's leadership and validates his doctrine, encouraging further expansion. Defeat or compromise might trigger another period of introspection and potential schism. The Commonwealth campaign, regardless of outcome, represents a crucial test of whether Maxon's synthesized Brotherhood can maintain unity while projecting power far from home. While the Eastern Brotherhood under Maxon grows in power and influence, their Western brothers face a very different reality. The Mojave chapter, established as an outpost during the Brotherhood's expansionist period, represents a cautionary tale of isolation, inflexibility, and gradual irrelevance in a changing world. Hidden in their bunker beneath Black Mountain, the Mojave Brotherhood clings to existence through strict discipline and extreme isolationism. Under Elder McNamara's leadership, they have survived the NCR War's aftermath by essentially disappearing from the surface world. Their bunker, while secure, has become as much prison as sanctuary, cutting them off from the developments reshaping the wasteland above. The chapter's daily routine reflects their siege mentality. Every resource is carefully rationed, every piece of equipment meticulously maintained, every moment scheduled to maintain the routines that preserve sanity in isolation. They continue training exercises, maintain their equipment and preserve their knowledge. But to what end? Without engagement with the outside world, their mission becomes increasingly abstract. The psychological toll of extended isolation manifests in various ways. Some members develop obsessive behaviors, checking and rechecking systems that have functioned perfectly for years. Others sink into depression, going through motions without purpose or hope. The younger generation, born in the bunker, struggles to understand why they train for a world they've never seen. McNamara's leadership, while keeping them alive, also keeps them trapped. His extreme caution, born from witnessing the Brotherhood's defeat at Helios One, prevents any meaningful engagement with the surface. Patrols are minimal and defensive. Technology recovery missions are deemed too risky. Even basic intelligence gathering is limited to passive observation through hidden sensors. This paralysis creates internal tensions between those who accept their underground existence and those who yearn for purpose beyond mere survival. Head Paladin Hardin represents the frustrated warriors who believe the Brotherhood should reclaim its place in the Wasteland. Veronica Santangelo, one of the few members who regularly ventures outside, brings back reports of a changing world that the leadership seems unwilling to acknowledge. The Mojave chapter's situation illustrates the danger of the Brotherhood's traditional insularity, taken to its logical extreme. They preserve technology and knowledge, but for whom? They maintain military readiness, but against what threat? Their survival becomes an end in itself, divorced from any larger purpose or benefit to humanity. Throughout their history, the Brotherhood has established numerous outposts, bunkers, and expeditions beyond their main strongholds. Many of these have been lost to time, disaster, or simple communication breakdown. These lost chapters represent both the Brotherhood's ambitious reach and the dangers of overextension in the post-war world. The Montana expedition, launched in 2231, sought to investigate pre-war military installations in the northern mountains. Led by Paladin Rodriguez, 50 Brotherhood members ventured into territory marked on pre-war maps as hosting significant defense research facilities. Their last communication reported successful location of target sites before all contacts ceased. Whether they fell to local threats, environmental hazards, or chose isolation remains unknown. Bunker Epsilon, established in the ruins of Denver, represents another mystery. Built to monitor the region's unique ecosystem, where packs of cyberdogs rule the streets, the bunker maintained regular contact for 2 decades before falling silent in 2253. Recovery expeditions found the bunker intact but abandoned, with no indication of what prompted the evacuation or where its occupants went. The Texas expedition presents a different kind of loss. Rather than disappearing, this group gradually transformed into something no longer recognizable as Brotherhood. Isolated from command authority and influenced by local conditions, they abandoned traditional structures in favor of integration with regional power groups. By the time contact was re-established, they had become a technological raider clan that had to be eliminated by loyalist forces. some lost chapters may still survive in isolation. Automated signals detected from various regions suggest active Brotherhood facilities, but their locations remain uncertain and their status unknown. These signals follow proper protocols, but don't respond to communication attempts, raising questions about automated systems outliving their operators. The fate of these lost expeditions influences current Brotherhood policy. Eastern expansion under Maxon emphasizes maintaining strong communication links and regular rotation of personnel. The cautionary tales of isolation leading to deviation or destruction inform Doctrine about minimum garrison sizes and maximum deployment duration. Each lost chapter represents not just personnel and equipment, but unique adaptations to regional challenges. The knowledge and innovations these groups developed died with them, or deviated too far from orthodoxy to be reintegrated. This loss of diversity strengthens arguments for maintaining some degree of autonomy within the broader Brotherhood structure. Within the Brotherhood's formal structure exists a shadowy organization known as the Circle of Steel. This internal security force, established in the Brotherhood's early years but refined under various elders, serves as the organization's intelligence service, internal police, and, when necessary, executioners of those deemed traitors to the cause. The Circle operates outside normal command structures, reporting directly to the High Elder or designated authority. Its members are drawn from the most loyal and capable Brotherhood personnel, undergoing additional training in investigation, interrogation, and covert operations. They surrender their previous ranks and identities, becoming instruments of Brotherhood security. Their primary mission involves identifying and eliminating threats within the Brotherhood itself. As the organization has grown and incorporated outside recruits, the risk of infiltration or ideological deviation has increased. The Circle investigates suspicious behavior, monitors communications, and maintains files on all Brotherhood members. Their presence, while rarely seen, is always felt. Historical operations attributed to the Circle include the elimination of the Texas expedition after their deviation, the investigation that exposed Paladin Dance's synthetic nature, and numerous quieter actions against members who violated the Codex or threatened Brotherhood security. They operate with broad authority but strict oversight, their actions reviewed by elder councils to prevent abuse. The Circle also conducts external intelligence operations. Their agents infiltrate regional powers, gathering information about technological discoveries and potential threats. They maintain networks of informants among traders and travelers. Some suspect they've even placed agents within organizations like the NCR and Institute, though such deep cover operations remain unconfirmed. Under Maxon's leadership, the Circle has expanded its role to include ideological enforcement. They monitor Brotherhood members for signs of sympathy towards synths, excessive humanitarian impulses, or other deviations from accepted doctrine. This expansion troubles some members who fear the Circle's power grows too broad, but Maxon views it as necessary for maintaining unity. The very existence of the Circle creates philosophical tensions within the Brotherhood. An organization founded on military honor and open hierarchy maintains a secret police that operates through deception and hidden violence. Yet most accept it as a necessary evil, understanding that the Brotherhood's enemies would exploit any weakness or division. Elder Maxon's chain that binds doctrine has evolved from a single leader's philosophy into the dominant ideological framework for the entire Brotherhood. Its influence extends beyond military strategy to shape every aspect of Brotherhood life, from recruitment to research priorities. Understanding this doctrine is essential to predicting the Brotherhood's future trajectory. The Doctrine's emphasis on unity through purpose has proven remarkably effective at maintaining cohesion across distant chapters. Whether in the capital Wasteland or the Commonwealth, Brotherhood members share common training, values, and objectives that transcend regional differences. This unity allows for coordinated operations across vast distances and rapid integration of personnel between chapters. Technology control remains the Doctrine's central tenet, but its interpretation has become more sophisticated. Rather than simple hoarding, the Brotherhood now emphasizes understanding and improving recovered technology. They position themselves not just as preservers, but as the rightful inheritors of human scientific achievement, uniquely qualified to determine how technology should develop and be distributed. The Doctrine's treatment of outsiders has created a structured hierarchy of relationships. At the top are full Brotherhood members, genetically and ideologically pure. Below them are affiliated settlements that provide resources in exchange for protection. At the bottom are those deemed genetically or morally unfit, who exist at Brotherhood sufferance and may be eliminated if they pose any threat. Military applications of the Doctrine emphasize flexibility within unity. Brotherhood forces train in standardized tactics, but adapt to local conditions. The chain metaphor extends to operational planning. Each unit is a link that must be strong individually but gains true power through connection with others. This philosophy has proven effective against various threats across different environments. The Doctrine's approach to recruitment and education ensures its perpetuation. Children raised under its principles internalize its values completely. Adult recruits undergo intensive indoctrination that reshapes their worldview to align with Brotherhood ideology. Educational programs reinforce Doctrine through historical examples and practical applications. Critics within the Brotherhood worry that the Doctrine's success might breed its own failure. By creating such effective unity, it may stifle the innovation and adaptation that allowed the Brotherhood to survive past challenges. The treatment of Paladin Danse demonstrated how inflexibility can conflict with practical loyalty and human decency. As the Brotherhood of Steel approaches its 3rd century of existence, questions about its future direction become increasingly relevant. The organization has survived the nuclear apocalypse, adapted to changing circumstances, and grown from a single bunker to a major regional power. But what challenges await, and how might the Brotherhood evolve to meet them? Technological advancement continues to accelerate in the post-war world. Other factions develop capabilities that challenge Brotherhood supremacy. The Institute's destruction doesn't end synthetic human research. Somewhere, someone will attempt to recreate or improve upon their work. The Brotherhood must decide whether to embrace such advancement or attempt to suppress it, each choice carrying significant risks. Demographic challenges loom large. The Brotherhood's strict genetic standards limit their recruiting pool in an increasingly irradiated world. Each generation sees fewer pure humans who meet their criteria. They must eventually choose between relaxing standards or facing gradual extinction through demographic decline. This choice will fundamentally challenge their identity and purpose. Political evolution seems inevitable as the Wasteland develops. The NCR's democratic model, despite its flaws, attracts settlements seeking representation and self-determination. The Brotherhood's authoritarian structure, justified by emergency conditions, becomes harder to maintain as the emergency extends into centuries. Pressure for reform may come from within, as new generations question traditional restrictions. Geographic expansion under leaders like Maxon suggests a future where multiple Brotherhood chapters control different regions. but distance and regional variations strain unity. Will the Brotherhood maintain centralized control or evolve into a confederation of allied but autonomous chapters? History suggests that empires reaching certain size naturally fragment. Technological discoveries may force philosophical reconsiderations. What happens when the Brotherhood encounters technology that could genuinely transform the wasteland for good? Unlimited clean energy, radiation-cleansing nanotechnology, or genetic modifications that enhance rather than corrupt? Their traditional caution might prevent humanity's restoration. External threats will continue to emerge. New factions with different ideologies and capabilities will challenge Brotherhood dominance. Perhaps a group that embraces rather than fears artificial intelligence, or one that achieves technological advancement through paths the Brotherhood has forbidden. Each new threat will test the Brotherhood's adaptability and force evolution of tactics and potentially doctrine. The question of succession after Maxon looms large. His combination of bloodline legitimacy and personal capability may be impossible to replicate. Will the Brotherhood maintain strong central leadership or fragment into competing factions? The Eastern Brotherhood's succession crisis after Lions demonstrates how quickly unity can dissolve without clear leadership. Environmental changes present long-term challenges. As radiation levels continue to decrease and ecosystems stabilize, the wasteland that justified Brotherhood policies transforms into something more civilized. Their role as protectors against chaos becomes less relevant in a world achieving its own stability. They must find new purpose or risk obsolescence. Regardless of their future trajectory, the Brotherhood of Steel has already left an indelible mark on post-war civilization. Their influence extends beyond military victories or technological preservation to fundamental changes in how humanity approaches its own legacy and potential. This impact will persist even if the Brotherhood itself eventually fades. The preservation of pre-war knowledge stands as their greatest achievement. Without Brotherhood efforts, countless technologies and scientific principles would have been lost forever. Their archives contain medical knowledge that has saved thousands of lives, engineering principles that allow infrastructure rebuilding, and historical records that connect post-war humanity to its past. Military traditions preserved and refined by the Brotherhood influence armed forces throughout the wasteland. Their rank structures, tactical doctrines, and training methods have been adopted by groups that have never formally allied with them. The concept of professional military service, as opposed to tribal warfare or raider predation, spreads, partly due to their example. The Brotherhood's cautionary approach to dangerous technology has prevented numerous potential catastrophes. While their restrictions frustrate those seeking rapid advancement, the avoided disasters, uncontrolled AI, biological weapons, reality-altering devices, validate their careful approach. Humanity survives partly because the Brotherhood prevented access to its most dangerous creations. Their recruitment and education programs have created a technically literate class that didn't exist in the immediate post-war period. Thousands have received Brotherhood training before leaving for various reasons, taking their knowledge into wider society. This diaspora of technical expertise accelerates reconstruction, even in regions beyond Brotherhood control. The philosophical debates sparked by Brotherhood policies continue to shape post-war thought. Questions about technology control, genetic purity, and the balance between security and freedom remain relevant because the Brotherhood forced their consideration. Their positions, whether accepted or rejected, provide reference points for ongoing discussions about humanity's future. Even their failures provide valuable lessons. The Western Brotherhood's isolation demonstrates the dangers of inflexibility. The Eastern Schism shows how humanitarian impulses can conflict with organizational doctrine. These historical examples inform other groups' decisions about their own development and policies. As our long journey through the Brotherhood of Steel's history draws to a close, let your mind wander through the images we've explored together. Picture the power-armored knights standing vigil in their bunkers, guardians of humanity's dangerous legacy. See the scribes in their workshops, carefully maintaining knowledge that connects the broken present to the lost past. Imagine the elders in council, wrestling with decisions that will shape the future of human civilization. The Brotherhood's story is ultimately one of purpose in the face of catastrophe. When the world ended in nuclear fire, some chose to preserve, to protect, to endure. They transformed from soldiers following orders into something greater, keepers of the flame of human knowledge, ensuring that the darkness of ignorance would not compound the physical darkness of nuclear winter. Think of young Roger Maxon facing the horrible truth of FEV experiments, choosing conscience over career. Picture the first Brotherhood members making their desperate journey to Lost Hills, carrying the seeds of a new civilization in their packs and their minds. See generations of brothers and sisters standing against chaos, each adding their strength to an unbroken chain stretching across centuries. The quiet moments define them as much as the battles. A scribe teaching a young initiate to read by candlelight. A knight maintaining their armor with the careful precision of ritual. An elder recording hard-won wisdom for future generations. These peaceful acts of preservation and preparation weave through their history, like golden threads in dark fabric. Consider the Brotherhood's bunkers and strongholds not as military installations, but as arcs, preserving human achievement through the flood of destruction. Within their armored walls, children learn mathematics and history. Scientists pursue research that may one day heal the wounded earth. Warriors train not for conquest, but for protection of all that remains worth protecting. As sleep approaches, let the rhythmic routine of Brotherhood life soothe your thoughts. The morning trumpet calling knights to duty. The quiet scratch of quills as scribes record another day's knowledge. The gentle hum of fusion reactors providing power through the long watches of the night. These sounds of order and purpose continue, regardless of the chaos above. Dream of the Brotherhood's future, not of war and conflict, but of the day when their mission might finally be complete, when the last dangerous technology is secured, the last threat to humanity contained, and they can at last rest from their long vigil. Picture them opening their bunkers, not in fear, but in celebration, sharing their preserved knowledge freely with a humanity finally mature enough to use it wisely. Rest now, and in your dreams walk the quiet halls of Lost Hills and the Citadel. Stand watch with the Brotherhood sentinels who guard humanity's future. Join the scribes in their patient cataloging of miracles. Train with the knights who stand ready to face any threat. Feel the weight of duty that has sustained them through dark centuries, and the hope that drives them toward a brighter dawn. The Brotherhood of Steel endures. Through nuclear fire and societal collapse, through victory and defeat, through schism and reunification, they remain. They are the chain that binds past to future, the shield against chaos, the sword against those who would abuse power. Their vigil continues, patient and eternal, until the day when humanity no longer needs guardians. Sleep peacefully, knowing that somewhere in the wasteland, the Brotherhood stands watch. Their power armor gleams in the moonlight, their energy weapons remain charged and ready, their knowledge waits to rebuild the world. They are steel, enduring and unbending. They are Brotherhood, united in purpose across time and distance. They are humanity's guardians, keeping the long watch through the dark night of civilization. Let their steadfast purpose be your lullaby. Let their patient vigilance guard your dreams. Let their hope for tomorrow carry you into peaceful slumber. The Brotherhood of Steel stands eternal watch so that you may rest. Ad victoriam, to victory, but for now, to sleep. And so, dear wanderer, our chronicle of the Brotherhood of Steel comes to its gentle close. We've walked together through centuries of history, from those final desperate days before the bombs fell to the uncertain but hopeful future that stretches before them. We've seen heroes and villains, triumphs and tragedies, moments of great nobility and terrible necessity. The Brotherhood's story is far from over. Even now, as you drift towards sleep, power-armored patrols walk the dangerous paths of the Wasteland. Scribes labor over ancient texts by lamplight. Elders debate courses that will echo through generations yet unborn. The great work continues, patient and eternal, a vigil that has outlasted nations and may outlast the memory of the world that was. Perhaps in your dreams tonight, you'll find yourself in those hallowed halls of Lost Hills or the bustling workshops of the Citadel. Perhaps you'll stand beside Elder Maxon on the bridge of the Prydwen, gazing out over a wasteland that holds both terrible dangers and infinite possibilities. Or perhaps you'll simply rest, knowing that somewhere in the darkness, the Brotherhood keeps its eternal watch. Thank you for joining me on this journey through time and across the wasteland. May the knowledge we've shared bring you interesting dreams and peaceful sleep. May the Brotherhood's dedication inspire you to face tomorrow's challenges with courage and purpose. And may you wake refreshed, ready to forge your own links in the great chain that binds us all. Rest well, wanderer, rest well, and dream of steel. Sleep peacefully now. The story is told, the watch is set, and all is well in the wasteland tonight. Good night.